All right, so we're back with another Sled Stories, very unconventional podcast where we're going to cover everything snowmobiling, stories included. And today we have Justin Hayes joining us.
What's up, guys?
And we're in your lovely garage as we're recording this. So, welcome, Justin. Thanks for having us down here and down here in Williston.
Lovely big Williston, yeah. Thanks for making the trip.
The big city.
We noticed that there's no sleds in your garage.
That's weird. I mean, I think they're off.
There's evidence of sleds being in here, but
There are. Yeah, there's carbide marks on the floor everywhere. But
by tuned, I mean recalls that are a year late.
How many recalls are you on now?
I only had one on that sled.
Oh, what year is that again?
That's a 19.
Oh,
She's ready for retirement or a recall.
yeah.
you had a bunch of stuff earlier with it, though, right? Like you had a couple we both got a couple reflashes done, right? That was a thing.
Yeah, I had a bunch
And
of the
then-
850 fouling plugs from being too rich during the.
Yeah. We talked about that on the last one, like because I was. Someone over here, Catboy, was throwing shade about fouling plugs, which I'll own it. It's fine, but like
I got to take all the shots when I can get them.
I hope that 858 you get just loads up plugs.
Why would you say something like that?
Because that's how I am.
because it's got to go full circle.
I remember changing spark plugs in the Chick Chocks, and my hands were so numb. And I looked over, and Max is doing the same thing, and I was like,
Something's going on here.
yeah.
"Do we have a problem?" No.
No, but what I was saying is that there was that particular time when it was everybody. It was you, it was me, it was the brands, it was anyone who had a Polaris in that like year and a half had the spark plug issues, and we've all tried everything it could be to fix it, and then all of a sudden everybody did their own fixes, but it just sort of went away and haven't had a problem since. Have you?
No, my fix was a SLP twins and a SLP tune.
Just get rid of all factory as much as you can.
The guys at Polaris were great when they were trying to.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in this garage, and the guy's like, "Take the spark plugs out, pull it over 15 times with no spark plugs, ECU unplugged, and then put plugs back in." And he was on the phone with me the whole time.
Really? And this was a engineer from Polaris or Polaris Helpline or whatever?
It was. I had a Polaris like tech case or whatever going. And I pulled that thing over and put plugs back in it. And he's like, "So what's going on?" Is basically there's just so much raw fuel in the base of the motor that we need to get all that out.
Yeah.
And I remember after doing the whole pull it over 15 times, no spark plugs, I took a map gas torch off the top of my toolbox and I stuck it in the spark plug hole and clicked that thing off. And I swore it blew the case bottom out of that. He's like, "What was that?" And I was like, like it could be a warranty claim. And
How would the fuel be getting down there, though? That'd be like it's an ECU problem? It's telling it to send too much fuel?
So what it came down to is they were so rich, and it was based off of when they would plug the sled in, they could see at how many minutes, I think it was, how many minutes you were above this RPM or at that RPM range. And basically like trying to side hill in the east, you were never really running enough high RPM.
The quick on and off where it was...
Yeah, you're blipping it, and you think like, you're like, "Oh yeah, like I'm pinned," but
you're not pinned.
I'm cleaning it out.
You're not pinned anywhere. Like
unless you're stuck, you're not really pinned.
my buddy Ben at the shop like plugged it in. He's like, "You're either at like 5,800 RPMs, or you're at like 8,300 RPMs.
Yep.
There's like no in between."
Yeah.
So it was never like, it didn't have the break-in hours above. I don't remember the number that Polaris had, but it was low six. It didn't seem like too much until I ended up taking the sled out and trail riding it to try to get the hours above certain RPMs. And you start to like, when you start watching that, you realize like the riding we do around here, like you're not constantly pulling.
You're not cleaning
RPMs.
it out. You're not ripping RPM wide open enough to clean the thing out and it still shouldn't do that, but it was part of the problem.
I think part of it was they were set to be rich on the break-in, and it just they couldn't come out of break-in quick enough for the riding we could do. But
I guess that's a good theory, though. If you were saying that everyone had the same problem at one time, maybe it was a break-in problem.
Yeah, but my sled was
His sled
2
was-
years old already at that
And
point.
it was
Oh.
at 800. It was
Yeah.
I guess not. How that goes.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And the brands all had 800s, just, you know, they had stage 2
Timmy
or
had
just
that-
a can or like
Timmy
every...
had the Bikeman.
Yeah, it's stage 2 Bikeman. And they tried those like Diamond Fire E3 plugs and everything, which really aren't even made for snowmobiles. And those actually worked for a little while, but you'd even foul those. And it says right on the package, like, unfoulable. You can't foul these plugs. Oh, watch me.
So you put it in.
Put them in a Polaris. You'll
Put 'em in
foul
a
'em.
Polaris. Now
We-
that... Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, were you there for the notorious spark plug incident up in Freeride?
No, you guys named it Sparkplug Hill, and I heard the stories, and
I
think that was the year before I met you guys. Actually,
I think we got to tell that story because that just the whole spark plug conversation just
Go ahead, please. Take it away.
this guy, just for the record, I hope you buy an 858.
You
and you're
already
cha-
said
you're-
that.
you're- I know. I'm just reiterating that I hope you change plugs.
it's gonna be flawless.
Yes.
Okay.
Flawless.
Flawless Wallace.
So the whole spark plug thing just got me thinking because this was right after you did your stage 4.
I don't know.
I think it was mid stage 4 where you're having all those problems with spark plugs. And I remember
This was the middle of the
Yeah.
worst time of my spark plug issues. This
you
was
have been fighting it all that whole year so far.
This was 6 or 8 plugs every day of riding, no question. Like
Yeah.
I would foul breakfast, lunch, like.
If Max was falling behind, we knew what he was doing.
Yep, he's changing plugs.
Yeah, he's changing plugs.
Tell you what, though, I'm like a NASCAR pit crew putting plugs in that thing, though.
I knew exactly which way to turn the handlebar to get to. The guy at Polaris was like, I don't mean to cut you off, but the guy at Polaris was like, so if you were to gauge like how many spark plugs you've gone through, I was like, I have no idea. I said, NGK sent me a Christmas card this year, and he was like, okay.
Yeah, I don't go by the individual plug. I go by the cases.
I
now.
go by the case. But anyway, go ahead.
But yeah, so again, this hadn't just started. You've been dealing with this for a while, so your frustration was already peaked. Like
Yep.
right, you were already like.
Yep.
So we get up on before it was named Sparkplug Hill. You get up to the main base of it, and we're all playing around. Rah, rah, rah. And there's Max taking his side panels off, and we're all looking at him, going, "Oh, he's doing it again."
Mind you, I'm only interrupting because it's pertinent to the story. I had already gone through all of my plugs before this happened. Like of
Yeah.
the day,
And it was only like noon. It wasn't even like.
we weren't even 10 miles from camp. Like we were
But you had already gone through, a handful of plugs.
a handful. It was I rolled with a 6-pack and they were done. Like they were cooked. Anyway,
So you're at the end of your rope already.
yeah, and there goes.
And then,
more
so
foul.
we all stopped. We kind of were looking at you, and you're like, I don't have any plugs. And then Kroll, was it Kroll?
It was cool.
Kroll goes, yeah, I got some plugs. And he goes down, he walks down to you, and you have your helmet off. He takes the plug out of the package and then just flings the plug probably like 10, 12 feet away.
Yeah, it wasn't that far, but
Why would you
what?
throw a spark plug?
Well, because it was deep snow, so he was trudging. He got close enough where he could just huck it over to you.
mind you, the snow was like epic.
It was a great snow.
We
yeah.
don't always have the best conditions, especially that area is usually pretty good, but the snow was great. And
Yeah.
I am frustrated at a level that is just very high.
And Nick throws him the spark plug, and Max puts his hands up. And, no offense, Max.
I was looking directly into the sun. I was looking into the sun. Kroll's head was...
in my eyes.
It was.
Max puts his hands up, and the spark plug goes right through his hands and hits him directly between the eyes. Bink! Like right off and
With
cut
the
you,
electrode, too.
Cut
Like,
you,
the
like,
actually cut my forehead.
right between the eyes, cuts him. And, we didn't know what happened at first because we just saw the spark plug go, and we're like, oh, he's throwing him a spark plug.
And then you saw me throw my
And then
helmet.
Max just gets up and he just starts fucking kicking his sled and he throws his helmet and we're like, what is going? Like he's really mad about this spark plug thing right now.
Yeah, and Kroll just goes, oh. Like
And then
he's like,
you kind of had a moment and you got yourself together and you just went back to the camp.
I
You were
got
just
it. I got it running, and I said,
You're like,
I'm
I'm
going
going.
back to my camp because we were staying at your camp. I was like, I'm going back to my
Oh, right,
camp.
yeah. You're like, I'm leaving,
Getting
I'm
the
go-
600 because that one doesn't foul plugs and it runs great. And I did. I was like, fucking see you guys. I'm out of here. I'll be back at dinner. And I just left by myself, went all the way back to my camp, wanted to run my sled into a tree. I rode it so hard. I'm like, please blow up. Like, you know, when you're so frustrated, just like Timmy and the, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I want you to die. I was so mad. And of course, it ran like a top the whole way back.
Right, because you always said it when you're on the trail and you have it pinned.
No
Like you
problems.
were saying,
Yep.
it runs fine. It's
runs
the
fine.
constant on and off that
Yep.
little foul one.
Yep, and it fouled it, and yeah. So I rode the 600 the rest of that weekend, and guess what? No more problems. That
Oh,
sled
man,
still.
you were so mad that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I was.
That was one of the maddest I think I've seen you in
snowmobiling.
In snowmobiling.
Yeah, that was pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
I feel like snowmobiling sometimes just is frustrating in the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean it's frustrating
Yeah.
all the. I don't, you know. Even when it's great, like there's always that like ride back to the truck or whatever, and like even if you had a killer day, you're like you start to get cold and it's a long ride, and you're like, why the hell does anyone voluntarily do this? Like, well,
Oh, that's how I felt last time, the last ride of the year when I split my shin open up at the mini bowls in Maine with you guys there. Oh, I had the same moment. I was coming back and I'm like, I just destroyed my leg. I haven't looked at it yet. Like why am I doing this? I could just be chilling at home right now.
I've been to the mini bowls twice with you. The first time I met you,
and I
and
crashed
a
both
cat
times.
crushed you.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
last time, I don't remember what happened to your shin. I remember I've got
I remember.
on my phone. I have you trying to come up to where Max and I were,
Yeah.
and you got all hammed up.
Yeah, we parked kind of halfway up where the trees kind of like the little pucker brush does
Yep.
this. We were just parked there, sitting on our sides, whatever, and here comes Baby Gorilla is like gonna make a line at it.
No, well, so you guys were stopped on the side of the hill, right? And it was a gully that went up like this, and then it went steep to where you guys were sitting. So I went up and I hit the gully, and when I wheelied up, when I came down on my uphill ski, and my balance was messed up. So when I landed, I was like, oh, and I just tipped ever so slowly.
You
And
low-sided
as the sled rolled down, I was on top of the sled, and I just came down right on my shins, right on top of the running boards. Bam, right down, hit the sled, and the sled rolled, and I rolled down the hill with the sled.
Yeah.
And I hit my shin, and I was like, oh my, I stood up, and I'm like, I can't look at it. And you guys were like, pull your leg up. And I'm like, I can't look at it.
You didn't pull your
And that was like at 9 a.m.
until we got back to like the
we
actual
got to that
707
trailhead or
junction.
whatever, yeah.
You're like, I gotta take a look, man. My foot's really warm.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no,
yeah, it's warm from blood.
Yeah, my foot's all wet. I'm like, I got to take a look at my leg here. And it was just like open to the bone. I'm like,
That was
crap.
That was shortly after. Remember, Ron got stuck in like there was so much snow, and he hit that one
The swampy.
Oh, yeah,
he
the
was
little-
buried in the mud, and it was just
His sled, like it took all of us to get. It wasn't even that stuck, but it was in a swamp. It was
a
in
swamp.
I think it was like the suction.
Yep, got him sucked down in there. But that same spot, to go back to the mini bowls, that same spot, probably not even 25 feet from there, is where I tore my ACL.
That was the first
I'm
time.
telling you, that spot is
that-
it's cursed. It really is cursed. Like I said, the both times I've been there with you, I've wrecked both times I've been there.
It's such a good spot, though.
And the funny
It's such
thing
great
is,
terrain.
the funny thing is, it's just not very funny at all.
Oh, there's
but
something funny over there.
Oh, there is.
Please.
the interesting part about that is that both times I wrecked was in
Yeah.
the first 5 minutes I was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I rode there all day and it was fine. It's like the minute when I show up, the first thing I do, I wreck. I don't know what it is.
You know what I got to do to get in the mood is crash right up here.
Yeah, because the first time I was going to ride with you, we were going to go to I was headed up to go ride with you, and you're like, you sent me a message. You're like, I screwed my knee up. I'm not.
That's the first time you came up, or were going to come up. Well,
I was
you
gonna,
did come
I
up
was gonna,
ride.
No, I was going to come up and ride with you.
That was spring fling.
That was
right?
spring fling.
Oh, you tore. I was coming up to ride with you
That's right. That's right.
because
that's
I met
right.
you at Mazers.
That's right.
And I had my stuff loaded up in the sled. I was going to head, and Heather was like, I remember Heather was like, "You're just going to go up to New Hampshire and randomly ride with these guys that you
Never
met at
really
a shop."
met.
And I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, seems like a great idea. What can go wrong?"
that's how I got in it. Well, we should talk about how we got to know you and just how this all sort of came to be, because it's we're obviously great sledding buddies now, but I've known Ryan forever, but you're relatively newish to the crew, but you're definitely like one of our better sledding friends, which is
Yeah, because you guys met first.
through
Right.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that goes is in my previous career, I was an insurance adjuster. So I did, power sports. I did boats, motorcycles, ATVs, snowmobiles, stuff like that. And so I would always go to, dealerships basically for sleds and bikes and things like that. And for probably, 3 or 4 years, all the techs or the service manager or whatever would be like, "Hey, do you know Justin?" And I'm like, "Nope." He's like, "Oh, he's our Snap-on guy." And I'm like, "Cool, don't know him." He's like, oh, he really likes sleds, and I'm like, yeah, cool. There's a lot of people who
Yeah,
like
good-
sleds.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
great
you know,
story.
I'm the sled these guy, and they know that about me, so I get that all the time. So like, I take it with a grain of salt. And then one day, like after 3 or 4 years of this, we actually finally meet at Mazer's performance. And even Josh, who, you know, Josh is a really great guy. He was like, yeah, you got to, much before this, he's like, no, you really got to meet Justin. Like, I think, you know, you guys would probably get along pretty good. And sure as shit, one day I was there looking at, I don't know what I was looking
Broken Yamaha. I can remember it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and I think you were just getting ready to leave. Like you had just, you know, kind of done your rounds over there, and you were kind of just getting ready to peace out. And I think Josh like ran out, and he's like, "Hey, come back inside. You gotta, you know." And that's
I can't remember what he had for a nickname for you.
Oh, do you have a nickname for me?
Yeah.
I got a lot of nicknames for him.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I've developed some over the years.
Yeah, they kind of they just
It's
evolve.
mutual. I got some for you too. Don't worry. But
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, you must know," and I was like, "Nope, no, I
Nope.
don't know him."
no. But you sort of kind of knew of me because my sled,
Was
one-
Fallon plugs?
fixed at one of my shops?
both of you at the same time. Do I get a chance? That was my, so I had a 2015 RMK that I spring ordered, which was for no other way to explain it. It was just a lemon. It was just a bad sled. There was a bunch of problems with it, and it was at Roadside Marine for pretty much a winter.
Oh yeah, the black and gray one, right?
Yeah,
with the
that's-
wrap on it.
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
red. Yeah,
yeah.
mhm,
Which that thing looked sharp, but it never once ran good. Never once. It blew the motor in Alpine, and then after that we were chasing problems with it forever. Even in Alpine, it never ran right. The thing never ran good, and it was at road, and it was wrapped and had all the shit on it, and so like it, you know, turned heads in like a place like Roadside, which is a pretty small shop, and they really don't mess with sleds that much. They don't mess with them at all anymore, right?
Just a little bit here and there.
Yeah, just do
they
service
kinda-
for people and stuff, but they don't sell them anymore. But they were the closest Polaris dealer at the time, and that service manager Dan, super nice guy, know him
Great
really
guy,
well,
yeah.
and they were the closest. So I had the sled there for probably on and off for the course of a couple months, and that's where you saw it the very first time. You're like, because it didn't look like any other sled there. Like this was sort of the beginning of the whole thing, and that's when you know like who's this.
Who's this squid?
Yeah, who's this Max guy? What's this sled doing here? And you'd see it all the time. And then I think we actually met at Mazer's probably, I don't know, a year after that or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Something like that. But
It was, but yeah. So I was going up to ride with you. You wrecked your knee.
Yep.
Messaged me not to go. We went up. Heather and I went up and rented that place on Back Lake for Spring Fling.
that's right.
Your knee was screwed up. You didn't ride. You stayed back and cooked all day.
Yep.
I rode with you, Joe.
Yeah, that was the first time we
So-
met.
So that was like, that was probably like a month after. So I wrecked my knee. You were supposed to come up, called it off, and then a month later was
Give
like
or
Spring
take, yeah.
Fling.
Yeah. It
Yeah, it was
wasn't-
like April, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. So what's even funnier about that is I'd never ridden. Remember Ryan's like, so who's this guy that's riding with us? I'm like, his name's Justin. And he's like, can he ride? I'm like, I have no idea. How do you know him? I'm like, I don't.
Not a lot of information came.
He's like, so he's coming up to ride with us? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, so, but you're not riding? I go, no, he's all yours. And you guys you showed up and y'all just took off for the day and came back and he was bleeding, big bruise. And because
that was
the mini bowls
That was the
again.
mini bowls. Yeah,
It
that
was like a freezing rain that day.
Oh, it was awful.
And you tumbled down the hill, and I was like, I
Yep.
remember like watching your sideboard just landed right on your.
Oh yeah, like a guillotine just chopped my legs.
you had a black and blue on your thigh,
Dude, it
like
went
ball.
from my ass all the way down to my back of my knee. Like
I think
this
that
whole
might have been the
side.
first picture you sent me, which was kind of weird, with like a picture of just like
Of
your
my ass.
half leg.
Yeah.
I was like,
Hey, dude, look at this.
Yeah, I've sent all my B&M injuries to Matt and Brian, and they think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've sent my elbow, my shin, my ass.
Your wolf bites.
Like, what is it with you and our running boards? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, that was when I think it was like Chet. Well, Chet wasn't up there, but it was Nick Brian was up there. Joe was up
Joe.
there.
Joe was there. Yeah.
You, Chet, and then
Brian was there.
Timmy was there. Brian was there.
I mean, just about everybody was there because it was Spring Fling, and that was like everybody came. There wasn't everybody was there.
I remember pulling Chet out. He took his sled between two trees and like kind of went like
Oh,
up
Chet.
through the trees, and then as he came down, the trees got tighter, and he's like, just pushing on that mountain bar, and I was like, that's not gonna cut it.
So we were going across before the slide, before I wrecked.
Yeah.
We were going across the mini bowls, and I remember I was going, and I'm kind of low, and Joe was up high, and I'm going across, and I come to this little clearing, and I look up, and I just see a sled in the trees. There's a sled in the tree, nobody around it, just a sled there.
That was-
no person. I'm
Joe
like,
Joe had like a borrowed sled from.
It was a demo
Yeah.
from Scranton. Yeah. It's all right. That was
Yeah.
long enough ago.
and I was just like
I remember it
looking
was like
around,
a
I'm
brand
like,
new sled with a skin's hood, and I'm like, it's kind of weird.
yeah, like
Kind of odd.
completely up in this pine tree, and I'm like, "That's Joe." Like he's like, "Yeah, I'm up here," and it was like he was like probably 100 yards away on top of the hill, like walking down the hill, and I'm like,
Yeah.
And then then we poked through a little bit more, and that's when we came to the ice shelf with the slide, and I'm like,
Yep.
we could probably go slide across this.
Yep.
And as soon as I came out of the trees, it was just solid ice.
It was, that was rock solid. You weren't
No.
gonna catch an edge on that at all.
no slid, washed out, caught, flipped,
Yep.
a couple times.
And I
Me
remember
underneath
you got down to it, and you started to pick it up to roll it, and I was sitting there next to Chet, and I was like, if he rolls that, it's gonna go right into the next set of trees down below. Rolls it and right into the trees, and I was like,
No, I did go to the trees.
Yes, it did.
It goes for it down. It didn't like smack in the trees. It kind of just goes for it down.
And
the
bumped.
trees stopped it from
Continuing
going any
further. Yeah.
I mean, gently.
It's a cat. They're tough.
But I thought I broke my leg for sure on that one. Like it came down, I was just like in my boot. Remember, you usually get up and you like. Usually when I get hurt,
Do the evaluation.
I get up and I just like close my eyes and like I'm just like feeling my leg, being like, all right, everything's good. I don't feel anything sticking out. Nothing's good. And I'm like, okay, I can try to get up. And like it was that hurt. That was probably that one hurt.
Well, since we're talking about mini bowls and injuries, might as well tell my knee story because that was the first. That was like one of the first times we were ever really in there. You weren't with me.
I wasn't there.
I'm trying to remember who was. I think it was just like the brand crew. I think Dennis was there and some other folks. And like, so I was basically the mini bowls. There's like an upper, more horizontal, doesn't get really tall. And that's really up almost near like tree line. It's in a weird spot. And then you can fish your way through a bunch of pines and just nonsense and then get to where the steeper, like
The big slide.
the big slides are in the rock face and stuff. And I was working my way from the horizontal side down to the more vertical side, and I was sidling across on the left side, so on brake side, and I forget exactly how it happened, but it was one of those situations where there was a little cluster of trees that was stopped, like just one windrow of trees, and I had to basically punch my way through. I fit and everything, but the conditions weren't great, and the snow wasn't great, and I went to go do it, and it just basically low-sided me. So it started to low-side, and what happened is my left foot got stuck in the stirrup of the running board.
Mm-hmm.
I went left, sled went downhill to the right, and it just rolled. I went a different direction. It rolled my knee like pretty well all the way over. I knew immediately. Like
that was your meniscus?
tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus, and it chipped a piece of my kneecap. Because when it separated, it took a little piece of it with it. So.
Yeah.
That was a season ender. That was it. And luckily it was towards the end of the season, but I did physical therapy for like.
You never did surgery though, right?
Didn't need surgery.
No.
No, they said I could if I wanted to, but they're like, just stick with the physical therapy and take it easy and whatever. And
That's right, because you were basically couch ridden when.
Yep.
That was when I came across that deal for building that sled for Nathan, the MK for Nathan.
Yeah, and I gave you.
up-
You went to Maine, and I gave you shit because I'm like, dude,
I went
literally
halfway to
I'm
Maine.
laid up. Like I could have went with you.
That was
I'm like-
the worst snowstorm I've ever driven into.
Yeah, well, you,
Oh, yeah, we got a story for touch on that about driving in snowstorms.
yeah.
yeah, that's coming up. But yeah, I was even so. Spring Fling was a month after it happened, or approximately,
Yeah.
and I was still like limping around and like,
Yeah,
I
because you were
couldn't-
like, I'm not riding. I'm going, but I'm not riding.
yeah, I'm gonna go because it's a big party for all my friends that we planned, and it still was a great time, and it was fine. But I couldn't ride a snowmobile.
Yeah.
And like everybody's jumping the fire and doing cool stuff, and I wanted to so bad.
Everybody, that would be Joe
and
the
Cole.
one
And
kid
Cole.
that half
Cole.
made it
And Cole that
Half made it.
half made it.
with
Well,
Joe's
like-
sled.
I couldn't ride any. I couldn't do anything. I mean, I beat around on the 4-wheeler and stuff, but like, we're doing it again this year. We're
Oh yeah, spring fling.
gonna do it. I mean, given we're
Can
gonna.
I
Yeah, it's-
Airbnb your place for the weekend? Can I Airbnb?
You should book it before you. Oh, sorry, man. I already booked it, so
Oh,
it's
it's
too
already
bad.
booked up. Sorry, you can't be there.
I hear it's being catered.
But yeah,
Yeah, that'd be fun. It all depends on snow, obviously.
Well, I want to just like
Because like I'm
get
trying to think. The last year could be. I don't think we could even do it last year. And if
the
it was
last like 2 or 3 years we couldn't have done it.
I mean, obviously you can go up there and drink beer and no snow.
Yeah, but like the idea is to have
Can you?
the idea is to have snow. You know, you
Right,
and we got
obviously.
lucky that year. There was tons of snow.
That was. I remember
Right.
the whole had like the whole where the fire pit was. You'd
Yeah.
like dug out like this whole shelf for seats and like
it was
they
like a
were
big
just
yeah. it was
perfect
like-
little spots for
so these-
fireball shots were sitting in the
Yeah, so these two guys, you know, again, you'd never even been there before. These guys go riding, and I stayed back and cooked, and I brought my tractor up, and I just dug
Oh, you
out.
made
So
that-
basically, where the center of the fire pit was is where all the snow sits from snow plowing. That's where the guy stockpiles all the snow. So the snow was as deep as this, you know, it was insane. And I spent all day with the tractor digging out the center of it, so we'd have that cool, you know, the bonfire inside of a snow.
Yeah, that was a cool spot.
And then we
Like a half
carved
igloo.
benches, and then we just everywhere there was liquor bottles and stuff all stuck in the snowbanks. And
I
like
remember
it
going
was,
up in the spring to help you clean up, and it was like
oh my god,
carnage. Like
it was a
war
crime
had
scene.
happened.
It was a crime scene. There was beer cans, and like we found 2 bottles of Fireball. It was a mess.
That was kind of where we jumped, where Dennis jumped his Raptor over there.
Yeah,
Same
spot.
location.
Yeah.
That was a really dumb idea.
It wasn't really a jump either. It was just kind of a coast.
Driving through a snowbank and
Yeah,
getting stuck and
yeah.
taking out a Dodge rear window.
And then that did.
No, that was actually, that was that weekend, but
That
that
wa-
was Eric.
Yeah, but weren't you trying to get?
You
You
were
were
trying
trying to
to
get.
get
Well,
Dennis
right,
out.
but it wasn't the Ram that, or it wasn't the Raptor that caused.
One thing led to another.
Yes, it was that same story.
Yes.
Yes.
And we broke a bunch of cables. We broke a chain. We broke a come along. We broke.
I almost got a cable in my face.
You almost got a cable in your face. Yep.
Yeah, that was scary. It was like, you you play a tune on that cable
Man,
behind,
I really wanted to
behind
go
the
for like a
Raptor.
"that's what she said" joke there, and I couldn't put it together.
That's all right. You got it. Got it in post.
Oh, but yeah, I was like, I remember when that thing was getting cranked down, and we're pushing the Raptor, and all of a sudden it was like, bing! I remember like I'm sticking out my head. I'm in the front of the truck pushing. My head's next to the headlight, and also I just like the thing snaps. I just hear the cable goes
whipping
right
by.
by the thing and whaps the tree behind me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
if I was standing a little bit further away, that cable would have hit me right in the face.
And this is like a choker cable that I had for logging. Like this is a pretty significant cable, and it broke.
Yeah, that Raptor was not moving.
No, it was stuck in there good, but.
It was a 5-minute funny idea that turned into like 4 or 5 hours of digging.
And eventually we just gave up and we went down the road and got everybody, and we're like, we just need hands, we need bodies.
And we still ended up digging it because it was just
Yeah.
like bodies was just because he jumped on the other side of the snowbank, so he was going down the other side.
Yeah, it was just dumb. It was just
That was dumb.
It was
Just
just dumb.
dumb.
It was dumb. So
But so going back to the snowstorm stories, when we tell a story about old
Gas Bay.
Gas Bay, about him almost
I don't even remember what you're talking about.
Well, let's just
When we almost died, wrecked my truck.
Yes.
Lost
all the above.
all the above.
yes. So that was the first time. Was that the first like sled trip you went on with us, or no? We went out west. I can't remember.
No, we went to Gas Bay first because I went
Okay.
up. I went up with you two guys.
It was just us three.
Yeah, we met. That was my truck, your trailer. We brought Meg's 600
Yeah, as a backup.
backup, and then we met the boys.
That must have been
vans.
19.
Is that when we stayed at the lighthouse house?
No, we stayed at the house.
No,
we
'cause that was
stayed at
Dennis.
last
Oh,
year.
that's right. The
Remember,
weird-
because we went to Jonathan's to check in,
yes.
and there was that boyfriend and girlfriend couple
Yes.
that thought they were going to stay at the same house as us, and then realized quickly that they were going to go to a hotel. And
Yeah, they were like, we're not staying.
No.
We're not staying in this house.
No. Yeah.
Which that was probably a good decision on their part.
yeah,
but-
yeah, agree.
That was a good trip, but yeah, the story is on the way back from the trip.
Yeah.
We were trying to leave Marsouis, and I think if I remember correctly, it hadn't started snowing yet, or
we
it
left-
was snowing.
Well, we left Jonathan.
It wasn't bad when we
It
left.
was just like barely sprinkling it, or not a big deal. But we knew we were driving into some shit.
Right, we knew we were driving into shit. We get all the way down to like just south of Rimouski.
Yep.
And that's when all of a sudden interstate closed. Like
Yeah.
we have to get off. She's not going.
Remember the box
I was
truck?
gonna say, don't skip over the box truck.
Box truck, yes.
It almost killed that state trooper.
Yep.
And I don't know how that guy WRC'd, like, rally turned that thing off the off-ramp past us.
Yep. Didn't hit the gate. Didn't hit the state trooper. Didn't hit us. Didn't get stuck in the snowbank. Like
Tell that portion.
Yeah.
And there's not really much of a story to tell there,
The
but
story
that
was we were, like, driving down the road, couldn't read the signs in French that basically said probably road closed ahead.
Yeah.
With some blinking arrows. And I remember, I think
We were in the slow lane, I think.
you were driving.
I was
think.
driving.
You were driving in the slow lane.
I was
in
driving
the
your
passen-
Duramax.
Yeah, I was in the passenger seat, and I remember like looking like, oh, weird. And this white like Ryder box truck goes cranking by us,
In the
and
left
all
lane.
of a sudden you see like blue lights from the state trooper, or whoever they are up there.
Yep. Well,
And
they're,
the guys-
they're red in
the-
Canada, though.
Yes. Whatever color they
In
are.
my mind, they were blue.
Makes no sense.
Emergency ahead.
Yeah.
And he's like sideways across the road. Like, if you don't see these signs, you're just going to plow into me. And that box truck was like in the passing lane, like hammered down. And then he's like, oh, I guess I got to get off here because the interstate's closed, and just yarned it. And I'm like, this guy's going to flip and he's going to hit us and we're going to die. And
And he just blew by
he
us
just
on the left and missed us by inches and just kept right on going like nothing.
Yep. Missed us, missed the
all we know-
guardrails.
For
Missed.
all we know, the state trooper died of a heart attack instantly right there. Because,
Oh, he was also inches from him, too.
I mean,
It
that was like,
Right, and he's not driving like a Honda Civic.
no.
He's driving a big box truck.
a
You're not
box truck.
stopping if you wanted to.
Yeah, yeah.
In that kind of,
I remember we get off into town at that little rotary by the hotel, and the guy's like, I swear he just was like drinking a soda, eating a bag of chips, like, oh, no big deal. Almost killed everybody, but no big deal.
No big deal.
That's probably a Tuesday for him,
Yeah.
to be honest, though. He's like, just like, that's how he is.
So here we are. And remember, there was that rotary, and there was a gas station, and like we luckily they closed it in a good spot where we could kind of get our
McDonald's.
make heads and tails of things. And remember, there was like a Honda Civic just stuck in the middle of the road.
I
It
went-
was,
just carnage.
snowing. It was
I-
crazy.
I went into the gas station, and I was in the little bit of English that I could get from the cashier. I was like, how long is the road closed? And she's like, 5 minute, hour. And I was like, okay. She goes, or
Those are very different things.
she goes, or day or two. And I'm like, well,
what?
which one is it? Because like, I don't mind having a coffee and a bag of chips, and then we get back on the road, or am I sleeping in a pickup truck? And I remember you holding the phone up, being like, Max, this is the direction we need to go. And you're driving around the rotary trying to like negotiate stuck cars. She's like, it's not fucking helping, Ryan.
We need to go this way. So anyway, so we're in the parking lot, and we're like, okay, the interstate's closed. The storm is huge. It's not going to open anytime soon. So we need to find a way around the blockage
Plan B.
and kind of go back roads to get back on the interstate to keep going south. So we found a route, go around the rotary, get on this little back road. We're cruising down there a couple miles. I'm sitting in the back seat of the truck, no seatbelt. I'm like straddling the middle
Why
of this.
would you do that?
Why would I wear a seatbelt?
Why would you not wear a seatbelt?
Well, in my defense, I had the phone and we were going over directions. So I was like leaning forward, like going over directions in the middle
Right.
of the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like doing that, and then it's snowing like a bastard. And
Well,
We were somewhere in Maine. We'd already driven to,
no.
we were still in Canada.
were we?
Oh
yeah, we don't go through Maine.
We never went through Maine. We didn't go that way.
I thought we came into Maine.
Nope. No, we were still in the Gaspé Peninsula. So we went like south because all those roads run perpendicular to each other.
Right.
So we went south for a while. Then we found that one road that basically parallels 20 because 20 was closed.
Right.
And we're like, we'll just parallel this thing as far as we can until we
Yeah.
can get back on.
Because the first road we tried, there was a gate across.
Yep. And then,
That was like the stuck Volkswagen.
Yes.
And we turned around and went back.
and then we found another road, and then that's the one that we were because remember they hadn't even plowed. There was still 5 or 6 inches of like fresh
Yeah, there
snow on
was
the road.
snow.
But like there wasn't other cars, and like if you've driven in that kind of conditions, you had really good tires. They were pinned.
They were pinned,
Yeah.
according to Jesse.
Jesse's like, "Oh, your tires are pinned." The thing did baller in the snow. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it-
it did.
Oh, yeah.
It did, and almost until it didn't.
anyway, no, it did.
I don't think it ever didn't.
It just got close. So anyway,
So anyway, so we're going down the road, and all of a sudden we get to this area where it's an uphill and then a slight turning right downhill, right? So it kind of goes. I'm doing my hands, you can't see it, but going down the hill. So all of a sudden we go over the hill, and then Max just keeps going straight. It's like you remember
No,
you
we were catching up to that car in front of us. We were catching up to the car in front of us. 'Cause I remember you saying, Max, this is too fast for the corner.
And mind you, like
It's burned in my brain. I remember.
I don't remember the car, but I remember you going over that hill and going down the other side, and me saying, "You're going too fast for this corner." And then Max tried to like stay in the lane, and then just turn the wheel, did nothing, and we just kept going straight. We crossed the center line, and I remember thinking, like, if that car had been coming, we would have smoked. We would have smoked that car.
Well, if a car would have been coming, I just would have went all the way left and just went into the woods. Like I wouldn't hit somebody.
We were
we were headed for the woods. No car.
I don't know if you would have had a decision to make. I think the truck was just heavy and it was just going the way it was going.
I remember feeling like the whole, like if you've been in the slide, like you feel the truck moving and then you feel the trailer moving. And Max, you were sawing that wheel so perfectly. And I remember I had my hand on the like oh shit handle. I was like, oh, this goes the end of my truck, the end of my sled, because my sled's on the sled deck. I guess I don't know what's going to happen to the trailer.
And like, if you've been to Gas Bay, it's nothing but like pines about 6 inches around, as thick as can be. Which like we would have just blown . Just forest if I.
Well, there was like a 4 or 5 foot ditch before before the trees. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were careening towards that. We crossed the center line, go in the other lane. I think you were covered in the shoulder of the opposite lane.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like just before the grass started, or not the grass, but
there was no grass.
The end of the asphalt.
Yep.
And miraculously, I don't know how.
Skill.
Yeah. Okay.
Skill.
I don't know how we didn't.
Baby Jesus.
Yes.
I don't know how we didn't spin.
Yeah.
Spin, slide.
Yeah, I was just
stove into the bank.
All I remember was your hat getting thrown on the dash, and you rolled the window all the way down, like you were probably 20 degrees hotter than you were when you started.
So
heart rate's at 150, just pinging, bing, bing, bing.
So leading up to this, like we rode for 3 days. The conditions were amazing. It was really cold, so like we're just we get up early and leave after a night of drinking. So like we're just you're zonked, like we're beat. Everyone's just like let's get home, and then the whole drive to this point is stressful.
Driving in the snow is so stressful.
And just like it's the opposite of what you want. And so like we finally got to this area where it was for the most part very straight. It was just rolling hills. And I'm just kind of like spaced out, just like dumb cruising.
Yeah. Driving we're like blowing snow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm coming up over the hill, and Ryan's just like, dude, you're going too fast for this corner. And I'm like, what corner? And then, that's the rest.
And it was like, all of a sudden, it was like sweeping right hill downturn. Whoa.
Yeah. And I was
clinched.
prepared to go in, but somehow, like, if I was going a mile an hour faster, I don't think it would have been able to recover. Like, it was.
No, I think you were going just as fast as it was possible.
As fast as we could go and not wreck.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any other if the formula was different in any other way, it wouldn't have.
No, I remember just bracing. I remember grabbing both of the seats and just like bracing myself against the back of the thing and just like
I had that handle so hard on the A pillar. I was like, oh boy, this is going in. Hurt.
I remember the first thing you said to me, Justin. You're like, dude, my heart cannot take this shit. You're like, and like I had my hat on the dashboard and the window down, like hyperventilating, like, and you're over there, like, still holding onto the whole shit handle, holding your heart. Like,
I was like, I don't need this shit.
Like, I don't need this.
I don't mind a scare once in a while, but I was pretty sure that was going to be the package deal.
And the scariest thing, obviously beside the obvious of crashing, but if we had gone to the ditch, where are we?
Yeah.
Like we were around nothing.
There was nothing.
There's no service, no nothing.
Out of 4 snowmobiles, maybe one of them would have run long enough to get down to get help.
We didn't kill one snowmobile in the crash to get anywhere. But like, there was no calling anybody. There was no walking anywhere. There was no,
And then we carried on after that at a much more conservative pace.
More gentle pace.
Yes, and then we beat the storm. We got through the storm, and by the time we hit like almost Quebec City or a little bit further south, where we actually turn off to the back roads head to Vermont, there was like no snow. Remember, it was like
we came back. I remember coming back to St. Albans. It was just bare pavement, which was which was nice.
Oh.
So,
I remember that time coming back on the same area when we smoked that deer coming on the interstate outside of Quebec City.
That's a good one. So
that was a good one.
So I'm driving. We rode. We were at the sled den actually. I think then, right?
I think it was sled den.
That was the last time we went there, and we were coming back, and it was just dumb. We rode all day. We're like, dumb. We're gonna beat the storm. Let's roll. Like we just after a day of riding, we gear up and we leave, and like so that's not gonna put us home. It's like a 10-hour drive if you're cruising. That's not going to put us home until like 2 or 3 in the morning, but whatever. We're like, might as well just get home. So we're cruising. I'm driving. It was my truck. It was my Ram. And it was me, you, and Who else is with us?
I think it was just me and you. But we had a trailer, so I don't know why we would have a trailer versus
There
me
was
and
other
you.
people with us. Was it Timmy maybe with us or something? Or it doesn't matter. So Dave was with us. I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
So we're cruising, and it was snowing the whole way, and not bad enough to close the roads or anything, but crappy driving.
Right.
And everybody's kind of like dozing off, and it's, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning at this point, or it's pretty late.
It was late. I don't know if it was quite that late, but it was dark. It was late.
Dark and late, and I'm cruising along, and up ahead we were starting to get in, like, not towards the city, but just a more populated area of 20. And up ahead I see, like, I'm like focusing through the snow, and I could see flashing lights. I see this yellow flash, and I'm like, oh man. I'm like, we get up closer, I slow down a little bit. I wasn't like gonna grab the brakes because the roads were crappy. And it was a Honda Civic that had played pinball off the snowbanks and was like spun around the wrong way in the road. And then I'm like, oh, that sucks. And just ahead of the snowbank was a guy and a girl. Obviously, they were in the Civic.
Right.
You guys tell me the story.
They're standing in the road, giving me the waving, like, no, don't come here. We hadn't realized the reason they crashed is they hit a deer.
Yeah, they hit a deer.
And these snowbanks in this road are probably like 6-8 feet high. Like you could, even the truck and trailer would pinball all the way down. Like you're not going off the road. And so they're trying to wave us off from hitting the deer, which the deer is still alive.
The deer's already been hit. Yeah,
It's already been hit. It's laying in the road like prone, so its head's up, but its legs are broken.
It's trying to move.
it's
It's like
trying
it
to
was
move,
like
but the
crawling
deer's-
across the lanes.
The deer is
This is
smoked.
kind of morbid.
It is.
Yeah.
It is very morbid, but it is what it is. And so, actually, the guy and the girl must have saw what they saw. Must have been horrendous.
They must have saw a horror scene.
Because,
But to our like to help us a little bit, we didn't see the deer.
No, we
because
didn't.
we were looking at them on the side of the road, being like, "What the hell are they doing over there?
Yeah.
Why are they waving at us?" And as soon as we looked back, we saw the gimpy deer going across the thing.
Yeah.
and then just
yeah.
Bam.
So the deer wasn't walking. It was trying to get up, but it was in slap in the middle of the road. And I just like, I told everybody, I was like, guys, we're going to hit it. And I split it. So I just went right down the center of the truck, and it didn't really hit the front axle. I could feel it kind of hit the rear, but I had a pretty aggressive draw pitch on, and it hit the bottom of the draw pitch because it's one of those flip balls. So the ball is the lowest thing hanging down, and it just absolutely
Bong.
obliterated the deer. Obliterated.
yeah.
And
So we went over, and it was like it was kind of quiet when we first went over, and all of a sudden it was like boom. We're like, oh, that was.
And like I didn't stop. We didn't do anything. It was like, everybody okay? Is the trailer still there? Everything so we went a little bit further, and finally we stopped, and it was just, the trailer was just hair and blood and parts, and the underside of the trailer looked like we undercoated it with blood and deer.
Yeah,
like,
it was blood everywhere.
Everywhere. And like, it's crazy because the deer hair and the stuff ended up all the way up onto the hood. It vaporized this thing.
Again, those people, and they were like a young couple on the side of the
Yeah.
road. They just
So
the truck go by and just went. Oh, it was just like mangled deer.
And
after
I
it went over.
swear to you, I didn't even touch the brakes. Like I'm not gonna crash for a deer. Like I'm not gonna, you know what I mean?
Right, and we were probably going 70.
No, we were going at maybe 55.
Yeah,
Fast enough to,
Smoke a deer.
liquefy
fast enough
a deer.
to not stop for a deer in
Yeah.
the snow.
Yeah.
But oh man,
Those people, that's not the evening they had planned.
those people still remember that story.
I guarantee they did.
I hope they listen to this one.
They still remember that story. I guarantee they're
Oh
not
my
forgetting
God.
that one.
I know.
Um,
So what did you think? Brian and I had been to Gas Bay a bunch of times, obviously. What was your first time there? And if I remember correctly, the condition, it was cold because it's always cold in Gas Bay.
It was cold, but I mean,
Conditions
it's cold back here, but the conditions were awesome. I
Yeah.
remember like just deep snow. I remember day one.
was this drive shaft?
Well, this was
when
dry-
Dirty
this was-
Dirty
this
Blues
was-
dry
this
shaft?
was
Okay,
drive
all right.
shaft.
Oh, Christ.
I'm 2 minutes from drive shaft story.
Okay.
I remember, like, we were riding, and like I think it was probably the first time that I rode with Dirty. Like,
Yep.
I don't remember him being at Spring Fling.
No, he wasn't, actually.
Yeah, so
No, he wasn't at Spring Fling.
he looked at me and he's like, "I want to be up in there where they are. Like, that sounds like the good stuff." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Cool, yeah." Like you and Jesse.
And I think you.
You.
It was me, Jesse, and somebody else.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe Tim.
Because the
Yeah,
trail,
Timmy was up in there.
Because
the trail went to the right, and we went off to the left up that like little creek.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it was Nick and Ethan and Brian, I think, were banging around like in an
The
open
trail
clear.
went around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember Dirty was like, I want to go up and over there. I was like, cool, like I'll follow you up. So like
Yeah.
we started going up in, and I was like, this gets pretty gnarly up in here. This is
It
pretty
was
good.
tight.
And the
Yeah,
snow,
tight.
the snow,
snow
was
was deep.
The snow was
Yeah.
deep, but it was like real tight and
Yeah.
like brook drainage
I
stuff.
remember I stopped on a shelf and watched Dirty go up through, and I hear this like, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting noise for a sled to make.
That doesn't sound healthy.
And that's what started the end of Dirty's sled getting pushed out of the woods.
Yeah, I was right next to him when the actual carnage happened. So what happened was he was, there was a bunch of big pillows, but there's no such thing as pillows. They're just stumps and rocks and whatever that are covered with snow. And he kind of like popped up one and landed on top of another one under throttle, and he had a silver turbo then. So like we had a lot of track speed, and whatever he landed on, I don't know what it was, but it hooked up, and something had to give. And what gave was it blew the actual drive shaft apart. And he had the drive shaft. That was the time that Polaris had those couplers. They made those brackets to keep the drive shafts together. He blew that thing right to oblivion.
Didn't it rip right at that coupler?
Yeah,
Like it
tore
ripped.
it right apart. Yeah. So here we are. This is already the end of the day. This was like 3
It
o'clock.
was end of the day.
It was the
That
end of the
late
day.
in the day? I thought it was like lunchtime.
No, it was late in the day.
I remember
'Cause
it was-
we came back and it was pitch black when we got back. Remember?
It was dark and cold. I remember that.
Yeah, sure was. So we, immediately Dave's like, "Oh, I don't think it's good," and we're like,
Oh,
"Oh,
'cause
it's quick drive belt or whatever." We start looking. We're like, he flips it over. I was the first one to see it, and I'm like, "Get on the radio, get everybody like no more playing. Like this is an escape plan at this point. Like we have got to,
Yeah, 'cause I remember
we got
I
to
was-
mobilize and get this out of here because it's getting dark and late and cold. And
All we
this
had
is
was that single goat path to get
Yep.
that thing out of the woods, which
Yep.
was just the 5 of us like pushing and pulling.
Because I remember I was up high and I remember turning around and I'm like, all of a sudden I didn't hear any more sleds going, and I'm like, why is no one riding right now? So I come down, the little creek bed. And I'm coming down, and I just see everyone like standing in a pile, looking at the sled, and I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
No
Because you punched way up.
I was way up, yeah.
you
and
got
I
up good.
you looked, and when everyone's standing around a circle looking at a
Never a
sled,
good
it's not a
sign.
good sign.
Yeah.
When no one's riding and they're just looking at them. So yeah.
So yeah, we the big issue was with that mechanical failure, the track can't turn, or it will turn, but all it's doing is you've only got one bearing on the other side of the tunnel, and it's
it's not smooth. It's binding on itself.
It's binding on itself, and it's getting stuck, and the track's not maintaining tension, and it's jumping off the rails, and it's just a mess. So to get him back, we literally just
Dragged
dragged
it.
We would daisy
Dragged it,
chain 2 or
pushed it.
3 sleds together in the gnarly parts, and I'm telling you, that was one of the coldest I've been, and it was windy as absolutely blowing sideways, cold wind, and we're up on this knoll getting stuck in snow drifts, and it was misery.
Yeah, so I was the one that towed him off the hill because
Yep.
every Polaris has the carbon fiber rear bumper. That
Oh, I
you
thought you were
can't.
going for a spark plug.
That
joke
you
there.
can't. I know there's more because there's more to use for the Polaris. So, but yeah, none of the Polaris guys could tow because they can't tie off to their rear bumper because it's carbon fiber and whatever. So anyway, so I towed Dirty out, and like I'm not shitting you. I'm driving and I'm getting down the hill and it's getting dark, like we were saying, and I'm cold.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm chilly. And I look back at Dirty, and he's just covered in
Frozen.
ice. Covered in ice, head to toe, goggles, and he's just like sitting on the sled.
Just
I can
being
tell
stoic.
He's miserable. So I kept stopping and walking by him, like, "You all right, buddy?" And he's like, "Just go, just go." And
Just
I'm
go.
like,
Just get back.
Okay, but I want to make sure you're not like, because you
Too
can't.
cold.
There's no way for you to stop me. Like
Yeah.
if you're going and you are really cold, I can't.
I can't. He can't signal you to say, "Hey, buddy, I need."
Right,
a
you have
second."
no brakes. You have nothing. You can't.
That long hill into town is where Timmy's track blew.
Yeah.
that
So I was
same
getting hit.
drive.
No, I wasn't getting hit. I remember like looking down and seeing like chocolate chips. I see like chocolate chips on the trail. I'm like, what is all this? Like, that's all rocks.
Why are
And
you
then-
thinking chocolate chips? Why does that come to mind?
Because it
Chocolate
looks like
chip's
it looks
small. Like it. He was
It
coming
looks.
with
It looks
lunch.
like ice cream. It looks like.
chunks of track.
It looks like chocolate chip ice cream.
Oh,
It's a white trail with chocolate chips on it.
cookies and cream.
Baby
Sort
gorilla,
of.
baby gorilla thinking about food here.
It looks like chocolate chip ice cream on the trail, white trail. Get chips of track all over it, and like some are big, some are small, and I'm like, why are all these? Like, those aren't rocks. And then all of a sudden, another group of guys looking at a sled on the side of the road, never a good sign. And I look down, and it's like, just
So,
pieces of track. all-
Timmy had a Camzo 280. I had one of those as well, and those turned out to be pieces of shit. And his track, it just literally started disintegrating
Yep.
on the trail. And we got to a point where actually we had to cut it because the track failed and started separating the long way, and it broke a cord or like a belt off of the entire way around, remember? And it was slapping the tunnel.
Yeah.
So we had to take a knife and cut that out. And like he got back to camp, but like he wouldn't have made it much further. The track
No, if he
done.
was in the woods pinned, like,
No,
and
it
get
would've-
stuck, it would have just grenaded.
Not a chance, not a chance. And I had one of those tracks too, and it turned out to be it came apart as well. Not the same way his did, but it was not a good track.
Yeah.
And he got it warranted or whatever. So anyway, that night was fun. So we pulled them both in the garage. Jonathan had this little wood heated, small, basically 1-car garage, and we had enough tools and stuff on us, and we basically took 2 sleds and made one. We took the drive shaft and the track and everything off of Timmy's sled and took Dave's track.
Put it on Timmy's.
But we needed
The drivers were different.
No, the drivers were the same. I don't know. We ended up Frankensteining the 2 sleds together.
My buddies Dennis and Lee were they were riding, and they gave us.
What did they give us?
They gave us
Something.
drives. They gave us quick drive gears.
Quick drive gears.
Quick drive gears because we ended up having to. Yeah, they gave us quick drive gears because those went back.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I don't remember why we needed them though.
I don't either, but we ended up we just all stood around and had some beers and we put the 2 sleds together, and then the old 600 she came through.
Yeah, she punched her time card in.
The old 600 backup sled. She punched her card and dirty rode it the rest of the weekend, and we were fine. So
That was the weekend those guys on the snow bikes spent the night in the woods.
yeah, Reed and the other.
Oh, was that same time?
Same
That was our
time.
last day up there because I remember we were on those shelves that kept dropping down in, and Jesse kept saying like, whatever you go down, you have to come back up.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
not. There's no.
That was
there's no
the
exit.
that was the pharmacy that
Yeah.
Jonathan called it.
I didn't think it was the pharmacy. I thought it was something different.
Yeah, but I mean, they all do the same thing.
Yeah,
they eventually creak out and they get so ridiculously steep and gnarly. There's no
Like we're in the part last year.
yeah.
Last year with
Well, he wasn't there.
Oh yeah, you weren't there. I'm thinking of your brother.
Yeah.
We went to TikToks last year.
I
Same.
went to Czech Truck last year.
No, not last. Yeah.
Yeah, you were both there.
I
Yeah.
was there.
That's right.
You got to change how you look.
I'm sorry, I can't really help that. Why don't you call my mom and dad and get mad at me?
So, for those not on the in, Justin has a twin brother named Nate. They're identical twins. They're very similar looking. I can tell them apart, but
It's very hard to tell them apart.
Yeah.
The best thing was when
you put a bunch of gear on it. I mean, I don't even.
yeah.
I mean,
oh, it was so funny when we were going to Dean's Den when your brother came over to my house.
That's right.
To get because we'd he
Will.
came over to the house and we're getting ready to go or whatever, and Will comes out of the house and he goes over and I don't know, I can't remember if he said hi to you, but he just walked up and Nathan said something, and then later Will was like, "Dad, why does Justin sound different?"
Because it ain't Justin.
I was like, because it's not Justin, that's his twin brother Nathan, and he looked at me like, "What?" Like
And that's the first time he had seen like twins like that, right? Didn't you say it blew his mind? He's like,
well,
what do
my
you-"
uncles were twins, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay, well, yeah,
but still like that.
but
Yeah,
not
it's
to
the
be
first-
caught like that.
But if you don't know someone has a twin and then you see the twin
Right.
and you don't
but
realize
I wasn't there because Cassidy had been born, so it was just him
Right.
going from seeing
Right.
me
yeah,
to then just all of a sudden Nathan's there, and it's like you kind of look the same.
Yeah,
Looks
Right.
the same, talk similar.
and he was like 8 or 7 or 8 at the time. So
Yeah.
he's like, "Why does Justin sound different?" I'm like, "Well,
he doesn't.
Yeah.
'Cause it ain't-
because you can't call him Justin because it's not Justin."
So where did you guys go? I mean,
That was
when I blew my shock. Are you talking about that day? When Nathan and I went back, it wasn't.
Oh yeah, that's right. You didn't go on that hillside. That was the farm. No, that wasn't the pharmacy. I don't remember, but that was similar situation.
No, I
Jonathan's like, if you go
no,
down,
he was there.
Oh,
The time I'm talking about last year.
the first day when we rode with Jonathan.
Yeah, the first day we went around that big peninsula.
That
We could
big,
see
yeah.
the water. Yeah,
Yeah, that was great.
that was, and then that was on the radio.
Oh,
when-
that's when Jonathan was yelling at Jonathan
Was
remember
yelling at Nick
he
and
was
Tony.
eating chili. He's like, "Don't go down there," and he takes off the radio. He's like, "I really hope they don't go down there." And
Right.
you can hear just like, "Rah!"
Yeah, because we came around. I think you were up with me. We came around that top, and it was me, Jonathan, sitting right where the point came around.
Yeah, yeah,
And we were
yeah.
sitting talking there, and it was just like, like
Straight down over the
straight
back.
down over the
Yep.
back, and we're sitting there. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that was really steep over there.
Yeah.
And then we kept going, and that's where we went and had lunch.
Yes.
And that's where he was on the radio to Nick and to Tony. He was like,
I remember he's like, please don't go down there.
Don't go down there. And all of a
please."
sudden, you go, don't go down there. All of a sudden, "Quack, quack, 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 quack." And you hear him like going down. And don't go down there. Please don't go down.
Please.
Don't go lower.
Please do not
don't
go
go
lower.
lower.
And of
Tabernacle.
course, and Nick's Kroll's like, oh no, I'm just making a line down here, and of course Jonathan's like, no,
You have to come up back here. Like, you have to come up, and you can hear the sleds going further and further away. Please don't go lower.
Please don't go
and
lower.
he puts his like stroganoff away. He's like, all right, I gotta go get him.
It's
puts his
so,
lunch
it's
away.
so
and he-
different riding the chick jocks versus like being out west. Like
out west you can like, there's always a way to go. You can poke your way through anything almost.
Right.
the chick jock just gets like the deeper it gets, you're down further and further and further, and it's tighter and tighter and tighter, and you start looking back up and you're like,
I had to go back up there.
there's no way out.
No.
There's no way up.
What am I gonna do?
Yep.
Yeah, the consequences are definitely a lot higher in the chick jocks.
It's
So
colder out there too.
It's cold. Oh, I remember the time that we went with Dennis on the hill with the lighthouse.
So cold.
Do you remember that time?
So cold.
Oh my god! I remember like waking up in the morning.
We didn't go one day. One day we just didn't go because it was too cold. It was like -30. We're like, we're not riding in this. It's not even enjoyable.
Yeah, I think
Metal
I think
brakes.
I think
Yeah.
Jonathan texted us and said, "Hey, we're not going out today or something."
No, he's like, let's go have breakfast and we'll see how that goes. And we sat at breakfast until like noon, and we're like, not
I remember
really
waking up
feeling it.
and like we had these big like picture windows in the front of this house, and it was high on this bluff, and you overlooked the ocean. And I remember waking up in the morning and just hearing the wind like wrapping off the windows, and it was like 18 below 0, like with no windshield, just 18 below. And I'm like, I don't want to go out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it takes the fun out of it.
But yeah, that was
it sure does.
weird. But going back to the other story about Nick and Tony going down too low, we are so thankful that little goat path was at the bottom of that hill. Remember we got on that goat path and we were coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond that goat path, there's no way you're riding that.
Death.
It was just like, probably 500 feet down to that brook that was just like
Right.
Remember taking
so steep you couldn't get a sled through it.
taking the goat path out, and then we got into like that really good stuff
That
on the
was switch-
upper left side.
Yeah.
So good.
We had that little switchback to go up, and then there was that one little rock weird angle where
Yeah,
we had
that
to get
was-
the sleds up, and we had to get Nick up. Well, Nick actually got up that one, didn't
Nick got up. Yeah,
he? Yeah.
that was when was it Steven on the skidoo?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like tried to run you over.
Yeah,
Ran somebody
Pratt's
over.
buddies.
Yeah, yeah.
Pratt's buddy there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, the chick.
Talk about a welcoming into backcountry snowmobiling for him.
It's fun.
we're gonna side hill all day
Yeah. On just one side.
on one side.
Hope you're good on the left side because you're going to left side for miles.
I haven't.
I remember like talking about like Jonathan's like, well, we could turn around and go back, and I'm like, side hilling out on your right side for these guys is going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a long
That
side
was
hill.
and it was messy getting in because that's where everyone would come in.
Right.
It was
and
all
then
rutted.
turn-
Yeah,
and they would turn out and go back out.
It was all tracked up and hard and set up.
So really, the way to do it would have been to come in
Just keep going.
the way we left
Right.
and bang around in that stuff for a day. That would have been the ticket.
right. I have to edit some of the video. But when we were, when Jonathan was doing his little intro at his house in the morning,
Yeah.
and he was like, so I know some of you guys haven't rode here and some of you have, but I've heard from all you guys that you guys are really great riders. And you can see some of the guy's face in the background. He's just like, and he's like, it's going to be very steep terrain and and it's,
He's talking about putting it in reverse and holding it pinned so you don't go down the hill too far. And like the look on some of their faces, they're like, you want to do what?
yeah, we're going to what?
Why would you put it in reverse?
And we're going to side hill all day, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, I'm like
boy.
looking, I'm like, oh God, I hope this doesn't go.
I think even Nathan looked at me and he's like, we're going to do what? And I was like, it'll be good, don't worry.
yeah.
He did great too.
Nathan-
For his limited, as much as he gets to ride, he killed it out there.
He did that log hop.
He did. That's right. Across that little
He had like the little two-step before he did it. It's on video, but it was good. He did a log hop. I'll give him credit.
He did do it.
We edit the two-step out. It was pretty sweet.
He did do it. Yeah.
I think I was straight up and down in a ravine right then when he did that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was a good area in there. Even like where we had lunch, where Jonathan had to go get those guys from going lower. That hill that was like right in front of us.
We could have played
That
on
was
that
beautiful.
But-
Little section there.
We couldn't because unfortunately we had the back of the pack was still catching up and we're finishing lunch. And so we're like, we can't play. We've got to keep. And I'm like, Jonathan, how far are you? He's like, oh, we're about halfway. I'm like, we got to go.
he's
Yeah,
like,
we're about
halfway.
halfway.
We're 3/4 of the way through the day. We're halfway there. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're halfway there.
There's no time for playing. We just got to ride.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that was, and then the ride out. That's when Dylan bent. Didn't he bent his skid on the way out that day? I don't know if it was that day or the next day.
Oh, day 2.
But all the whoops on the way out was like,
those whoops were brutal. I remember like him and I going
so
ski
bad.
to ski with that. Sometimes was kind of going.
that's the worst. And usually he grooms up there, but for
He
a
couldn't.
reason.
The guy that worked for him bent the groomer blade.
that's
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something was messed up with
Was
the
it
groomer or whatever.
Matt or something was
Yeah.
that younger guy that had
Yeah.
the duct tape all over his climb suit.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
blew the back of it out.
Yeah.
Oh, 'cause when that's not groomed, it's like it's brutal both ways. Because in the morning you're like your legs are fresh, you're like, oh, let's go riding. By the time you get there, your legs are smoked.
Yeah, but in the morning it kind of like
or your shock is smoked.
Yeah, or your shock is junk.
I remember pushing the air valve in my shock, and like chocolate milk comes out of the air shock. I was like, I wonder if that's going to be part of the problem today.
It's supposed to be just air, right? Not.
I mean, I'm no technician, but I think so.
So you gotta like.
So there wasn't chocolate chip ice cream, chocolate milk.
You
we
know,
go back to ice cream. Just got to have ice cream.
riding is like right around the corner here, so you got to get those shocks sent out like pretty quick, right?
They're in a box right back here.
So you're gonna want to like
At least they're in the box.
send
ready to
that
go.
box somewhere, though, hypothetically.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize that my shock's actually still on the sled getting the recall done. Until you showed up with my spare shock, I thought my spare shock was on my sled.
Which your spare shock I needed for gas bay because I blew my front track shock
Yeah.
just the weekend before. So I was
How
like,
did you do
hey,
that?
riding like an idiot. I don't know. When it comes to whoops, I don't know how to take it easy. And yeah,
Yeah.
all the bent and broken stuff is the result.
That was such a beautiful day, day 2. Like it was like so clear, blue sky. I remember Nathan. I had the that stupid tailgate on my GMC that's supposed to like play music through the Bluetooth speakers.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We go back to camp. He opens up a couple of the woodchuck mimosas, and I was like, you know what? I've never used this
I'm gonna
stupid
put the-
tailgate. We're gonna play some music.
Plays music with
In the
old
driveway
tailgate.
of the house in
Yeah.
Gas Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was all right. For the record, we have never, ever been to Gas Bay, and it hasn't been brutally cold. Except this time, it was so warm.
It was beautiful.
It
Yeah.
was like 45 degrees.
It was like
and
riding
50
out
in
west,
this-
blue skies.
It was awesome. And like we hit it just right because the snow was still soft. The snow hadn't set up yet. But literally as we're riding out on day 3, the snow's turning into junk because
Yeah.
it got so warm. Like we couldn't
Right.
have hit it better if we tried.
But we've also gone in the dead of winter, and this is the first year we've gone in like late March.
Yeah, I don't ever want to go any other time. I just want to go in the spring.
So yeah, that was a big change. And you know,
I'm
after
getting old. I don't want to be cold all the time.
after daylight savings, you get more late, you get longer
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
and it's not freezing.
Yeah.
But you know, the trade off is the last day it got warm and town was muddy, and you know, it
Yeah, but
snows.
just the same. The
We
snow.
had a good day the 3rd day.
Yeah, taco day.
Taco day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Who
brought
else
all
has
the
a
stuff
full
out.
taco bar on the back of a sled?
Yeah,
It
that's
was
a first.
delicious.
That's a
It
first.
was it Pratt? Who was it that brought all the stuff for
Pratt.
tacos?
It was
Pratt.
100% Pratt's.
Yeah.
Because he was going to do a dinner. He was going to do tacos one night, and like we just didn't need it because we ended up having other dinners. And he's like, "Well, I got all this taco stuff." We're like, "Fuck, let's bring it out in the woods."
Remember that we had the guide who was Jonathan's friend
Who
that
spoke
was
zero English?
Just ripping
zero
cigarettes
English.
the
He
whole
was
time.
smoking cigarettes, and he's watching us eat tacos off the back of a sled, and he's
Yeah.
eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
He's like,
he was a cool guy.
He was
He would
cool.
like bring you to a zone and be like, play here. It's like,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, just
and he
gonna
would
sit
just
here and
he would literally sit
rip
there,
butts and
Sit
just
there and smoke cigarettes.
rip butts, and just watch us ride, and we'd all come back down.
He was
have fun.
He was like a road foreman for the town that we were staying in.
yeah.
That was
Oh,
it.
right.
That was his deal.
Yeah, because all those guys get laid off in the winter because
Yep.
you can't,
Yeah,
can't
I'll
work
go-
on roads.
I'll go ride a sled and go up this road and be like, "Yeah, idiots, go play up there.
Yeah.
Right.
Go break some shit and come down.
Yeah, come see me.
I'll be right here. I'm not going up there."
Can I lay myself off in the winter? Does it work like that? How do you how do we do that
Yeah, you
for my
could.
desk job?
I wonder. So, like, if you had like like when you ride with Jonathan, like in my mind, I get this like sense of like security, right? Like if you get really hemmed up in the woods, like he's gonna be able to like come,
Yeah.
and get you out, right? Like if you wrap the tree around, you're in a steep section,
Or you get hurt or anything.
you get hurt,
He's-
whatever. There's the sense of security that he's gonna be,
Yes.
he's your guide out there.
You saying
The-
old Joe,
the last-
Smokey Joe there might?
The last Smokey Joe, if the area that we were in, remember you were trying to come up to find us when it was like
Oh,
me, you
yeah.
and Dylan,
Yeah,
that really
no.
high area.
That was dumb up there.
It was
was
dumb.
great.
That was so steep up there. And if you got hemmed up in a tree well up there or something, I don't know if old Smokey would have been able to make it up there and get us out.
I remember I could see like.
I don't think he would have
I
made
could
it.
see just the green of some of your sled, and Pratt and I were sitting there, and I was like,
I don't want
I was like, oh, we might as well just like go back down. Like I remember like sliding down over the top of a tree. Like that was a situation where if you didn't panel slide going down,
You were going into a tree.
you were going into a tree. 100%.
Because there wasn't a clear enough path to just
The
ride
only
it out.
break you have is your spindle digging into the snow.
that's it,
Actual
yeah.
brakes,
You have to, like, sink
even
the sled
reverse
and, like, get
wouldn't
your foot
have.
down.
Yeah, wouldn't have worked.
That was a great spot.
That was a good spot. Even like where the first hill before we had lunch, we were making Kroll go up. Remember that like that?
Yeah.
To the
little-
right was like
yeah.
a little log that went up. Like that whole hill would have been great to play on, but the snow wasn't great right there because it was kind of not
was-
protected.
it
It
was
was open.
exposed,
Yeah.
yeah.
But fresh snow, that whole hillside
Yep.
would have been great. You know, that whole little knoll we were on. You know, but
Is your RMK? That's the first mountain sled? That's your like first and only true
Yeah,
mountain
that's-
sled, right?
Yeah, that's my first one.
And she's still in the fight.
She's fighting. I mean, she's looked better before in her life.
Oh,
but-
she's still good. She's all right.
good.
yeah.
She's good. The twins are. That thing sounds so good.
It does.
It sounds so unique and different. And
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you say that again, please? Just say it slower.
yeah, it's great though because like it's one of those sleds. You're like, I know exactly where you are in the woods at all times
Yeah.
because the sound is so unique. I'm like, Justin's right over there. He's okay.
Crack. What was that?
What the? So are you gonna replace it? Like how I know you were talking about getting a sled for West and
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about like horrible financial decisions, and
well,
life decisions,
isn't all of snowmobiling? Can we just
Yeah, that's
just
a blanket statement.
yeah.
yeah, I'd love to put a sled out west and yeah.
You think it's going to be an 858? Well, that could be in your future.
Sorry, you broke up. I lost you there for a minute.
I
No,
heard you crystal-
well, no, because you were a cat guy, kind of still a cat guy.
I got a cat in a trailer out there.
Yeah, see, I wasn't being
throwing shade.
No, I wasn't throwing shade. I was like, will an 858 be in your future?
I love the Catalyst chassis. Looks pretty sweet. Never ridden one. A supercharger would have been kind of cool to like.
Yeah,
Just something to.
I mean, if you're
Something
gonna
different.
go out west, like why not? I mean, everyone's got a turbo, so why not do something to?
Compete with
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I totally agree. I would foresee that's coming. I would hope it.
Do you
would
see
be.
a boost in your future?
Ooh.
Like a Polaris?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got friends
no.
that can change spark plugs. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I got friends that can do a lot of maintenance on Polarises. That's for sure.
I have never.
no, I'd love
knock on wood. I have never put a spark plug in my boost. Not one.
Well,
I've not done anything to it besides pull the rope and go. Really.
to. Yeah,
It's had 84 recalls. Polaris does it for me now, which is great. But it's been very reliable.
I guess. I mean, I do one of the two. The Polaris has been good to me.
yeah. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I'd love to put I think if you're going to put a sled out west, I think having something that's more than naturally aspirated is nice with the elevation.
Yeah.
There's no other
Yeah.
way to. There's no other way to like.
Slice it.
Yeah, I mean it's just
It's not being mean. It's just
the way it is.
forced
That's what-
induction is nice.
Yeah, I mean,
On the east, it's
858
absolutely not needed. but
858
Right.
sounds great. Back here.
would you ever replace your cat trail sled for like maybe an 858 or like a newer trail sled or anything, or do you just not use it
Yeah.
enough to justify it? Or
I haven't ridden the trail sled in 2 years.
okay, so probably not.
but so that's 800 with a SLP stage 2, and
Yeah.
it runs great. I think it's got like maybe 5,000 miles on it. Heather and I were just saying the other day that we kind of missed taking days off during the week and doing a trail ride together, and that's fun. I guess the challenge and the fun of like the off trail is
More your
really
draw.
Right.
Yeah, it's I guess that's just it's the adrenaline comes up with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
trail riding at speed is fun, and going different places or a destination and go someplace and have lunch with your friends. Like that's like I miss that riding with some of my friends I used to trail ride with, but
Yep.
it's just
That like personal challenge of, can I get to the top of this? Can I go over here? Can
Yeah.
I get up that?
Yeah,
Can I
you
get-
don't
can I
get
tra-
that?
yeah, you don't get that with trail riding. The only challenge you have is how many miles can I do in a day or
Yeah,
whatever.
how many miles did you do in a day?
Yeah.
Are you ahead of your buddy? Are you handling
Exactly.
better? Are you fighting the sled more? I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely awesome challenges to trying to set up a good trail sled, and I got some friends that do a really good job with that. And it's just, I guess, if I'm going to devote my time and energy and new sled into something, it would be something
Mountain.
off trail. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's where my
Oh, I get it. And I obviously I bought a trail sled, and I really did it for those in between times when the conditions aren't right.
Yeah.
To be able to trail ride, go with my wife, and like just if unfortunately on the east, it takes a little bit of time for the woods to get set up with enough snow and a base and everything. Like,
Right.
It's still nice to be able to go. I don't want to. No offense, I don't want to trail ride my mountain sled. It sucks.
It sucks.
there's
Try
no one
riding
that's
my
gonna-
sled on the trail. It
Yeah,
really
your-
sucks.
Yeah, your track shows the.
It really sucks. Yeah, and now I'm paying for.
Can you get a snow flat this year?
No. Done. So I'll put it this way: if I put a snow flap, it'll make zero difference.
To people behind you, it will.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's not gonna make a difference.
Okay,
I've had one before, and it does the same thing.
It gets
helps.
sucked under.
it helps.
Just how about
it does
try-
get
how
sucked
about
under.
Just leave the one that comes with the sled on the sled.
Okay, Dad.
Maybe it'll run a little cooler. I don't know. There's a reason.
It doesn't.
for
I don't
that.
have an overheat problem. I don't. I'm telling you.
You've-
Across the lake, I do, but
Well,
No, I don't have problems though.
across the lake, it's usually always a problem.
Yeah,
but-
we all do, but
Yeah. No, I don't like snow flaps. They get in the way, Justin.
in the way of what?
your sled landing on your side.
What's gonna do with the snow flap?
Fair.
Maybe a snow flap would have prevented that.
It would
Yeah.
have slowed the momentum.
Yeah,
Hey, I saw a lot of sleds with no snow flaps this
Where?
past year.
that's
Where?
true.
I don't think you run a snow flap.
I do. All my sleds. I mean, the one on the
Well, the
boost is
Slash has,
literally
like, a
like
little one.
it's not even. It's just a plastic extension of.
There's
the
a
tunnel.
part number from Polaris for it, so
Yeah.
it's a snow flap.
It's technically a flap, but I mean, your track and actually all Arctic tracks historically throw absolute grenades. Like they
It
they
sucks.
throw chunks.
Oh, I'm not saying it sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks to ride behind me for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But
But somehow you're always like near the front. And you want to be like you.
Yeah, 'cause-
You should be the bigger man and be like, I'm going to ride in the back because
yeah, care about your friends a little.
I don't
Stay
want
in
to
the
ride
back.
in anyone else's snowballs. I want to.
Oh yeah,
know.
it's not selfish at all.
No, but I'm in the middle of buying a new track because my track's got 600 miles on it and it's trashed.
I got some chunks out of I guess I've lost some cookies off of my sled.
Need some cookies.
Some cookies are gone.
Some chocolate,
Chocolate
chips.
chips?
Yeah,
I'm missing a lot of chocolate chips off mine. Riding on one ski like 40 miles an hour down the trail is probably not a good thing.
No.
Where the back of the track's like folding over the back wheel. I'm just like,
We were in his garage actually doing one of these, whatever week or two ago, and I'm looking at his track, and I'm like, "Have you broken any rods?" He's like, "I don't think so." And I'm like, I'm starting to push it on the rod. I'm like, "That one's broken. Oh, that one's still good. This one's where he's like, I'm like, they're supposed to be solid, right? They're not supposed to be broken." And he's like, "Oh,
weird.
weird,
Yeah,
whatever."
whatever.
But
That leads me on one of the questions I wanted to ask around the room. What would be a past sled that you wish you still had and never sold?
okay, I have an answer to this, but Justin, you want to go first, or
Okay,
I
since
could-
you were a little kid to right now, do you regret ever having selling a sled, and which one would you have? Would you have kept and modded out or did whatever?
Yep.
I had a 06 F7.
Ooh, was it green?
That was orange.
Ooh.
Fucking green. Do I
crazy?
follow everybody?
I mean, it is an Articat. That wasn't an offensive question.
Crazy?
No, it was
The hell would you ride that?
It was a F7.
Yeah.
Was it the one with the flame decal down the side of it, or was it the one?
It was so fast. I don't know. I think they flew off.
Those sleds, I will say, I'm not even a cat guy, but those sleds for their time were rocket ships. They
the
were some of the
F7
fastest, and there's people that still race them. Like they're because they got a
My
narrower
Uncle
track.
Ross still has his F7.
They have a narrower track too, right?
They
It's
do.
It
like
was a narrower track. It was
like
like
a
a
13.5.
13.5.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
dumb. It's like a chainsaw.
It is skinny.
So
Yeah.
that sled was a great trail sled. It was
Yeah.
fast. I mean, I got rid of it and I bought my 1100 turbo 4-stroke. Had that for 2 years.
That was a cat, right?
4-stroke was a bad idea.
Why do you say 4-stroke's a bad idea?
I went through more belts on that sled than I did spark plugs on a Polaris.
That can't be possible.
I was gonna
It is
say,
possible.
whoa.
The 1100.
Did you have to take out a home equity loan for belts then? Because that's a lot of
I
belts.
did.
Wait,
Yeah,
so-
I refinanced.
So was this blowing belts on a stock 4-stroke, or did you build it and then blow belts?
Was she sauced up a little, or
Yeah,
It
was she
wasn't-
tuned right up, or what?
It wasn't tuned. That sled had like I think what it came down to was it had like some underload. The
Like
clutch
misalignment?
alignment. The clutch
Yeah.
alignment was awful. Actually, my 800,
same problem? You broke that clutch adapter plate, right? Or
that whole plate snapped. And
Oh, like
That was
the
after
torque
they-
link?
yeah, that was after the SLP kit. So it's got some braces in there. But yeah, that 1100 turbo it was great until it blew. It
The
would-
motor blew or belt
No,
blew?
the belt blew.
Oh, okay.
I don't think the motor had enough miles on it to blow.
Yeah.
But
How
just-
many miles would you say you got off a belt? Roughly.
could you get a day of riding in?
No,
Come on, really?
no. Trail riding, I would blow 2 belts in a weekend.
Come
Oh
on.
my god.
And you'd go to change the
And that's
belt.
when belts
that's a
were
quick
cheap.
that's a quick $300 weekend.
Yeah.
You'd go to change the belt and like touch the clutch, and you're like, "Ooh, 3rd-degree burns." Whoa,
Ooh,
How'd that
yeah.
happen?
So it was getting.
3rd-degree burns through your gloves.
No wonder why they're blowing belts, because the thing was melting. It
was
Just too hot.
It was melting
Yeah.
itself.
Too hot.
I remember when I traded it in.
Just drill some holes in the side of the belly fan.
I did.
Just
I
run
did,
without the side panel. For
I
the
did
day?
all the like frog skin. I drilled the
Try
ton
to
of
cool it
holes.
down.
Didn't
Yeah,
matter.
everything. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. And I remember when I traded it in, I had a spare belt, and it was
You're gonna need this.
It was different. It was different than my 800. So I was like, hey, I'd like to. I mean, can I get a credit for this belt towards a spare belt for the new 800? And I remember the service tech looks at me and he's like, well, I kind of got to look at the belt and make sure it's not used. And I was like, used? I said, it's for an 1100 turbo. I said, if it were used, it'd be in 1,000 pieces right now. I said, it's brand new.
Yeah, if it was used, you'd know it.
There's no in between there, guy. It's
Right.
it's either together and new or it's disintegrated.
How many miles on it when you sold it or traded it in?
A couple thousand, I think.
What color was it? Was it white?
It was orange.
Oh, it was orange.
It's orange, dude. We've been over this. The F7's orange. The turbo's orange. Come on.
I guess your RMK is orange.
My orange, yeah, the RMK was orange. I'm going to go black next time.
All right.
Shut your mouth.
Definitely a joke. Although, I mean,
Family friendly show.
again, Cat makes a purple sled.
So does
saying.
Polaris.
Could you stop
But
sending?
but the-
Could you stop
No.
sending me like alphas that are purple, like the traditional 1990?
Dude, I
like-
was on a streak there for everyone I would see
I
on
know.
Marketplace, I would just tag you in or send it to you.
I
Everyone.
sent you one last night that you did like. It was
Oh, the guy in the purple suit on the
yes.
RMK or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a rowdy one. But all right.
I just like the black and purple's kind of low key.
It's,
Dan Adams did a really cool rap and sled a few years ago that was black and purple, and it's on a video. And like,
yeah.
Well, here's the thing: you get a black sled, the possibilities are endless. You can make it whatever freaking color you want. Like you get a sled that's
Right.
got too much of a factory color, like an orange or a green or whatever. Like
Right.
you can
'Cause a
only
wrap-
do so much.
and a
because-
wrap doesn't really hide the entire panel.
exactly.
and
You
that's
can't.
my
only-
sled now is like the orange tunnel and stuff. Like if I really,
Your sled now looks killer. I love it.
I don't
it looks
think
great.
I honestly don't think I would get rid of that sled for as butchered and changed as it's been. Like that would be like a garage queen and just keep it for my first mountain sled that I bought. Like that was cool. Like maybe one day Cassidy can drive it into a tree like I have.
I'll be so proud. She just
I'm tearing up thinking about it.
she crashes and she's all crying. You're like, I'm so proud of you.
I'm so happy. Oh wait, are you okay?
Yeah. So proud.
All right, Ryan, your sled. What's the one that keeps you up at night?
I have kind of a tie.
A tie? No.
Well,
Pick one.
no.
Powder special.
No. to your point, was my first sled was my 99 Z440. But that was just
fan cooled.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. The thing was great because you could ride it on the grass and it wouldn't
Wouldn't overheat.
wouldn't overheat.
Here's the thing: doesn't need to be winter.
Unlike the
you can
Alpha.
snowmobile 12
Yeah,
months
you can
a year.
just it doesn't overheat. But the only reason why I say that ranks in the list is because it was my first sled when I was like 13. So
Yeah.
that's the only the nostalgia is the only thing that's keeping that
Yeah.
up in my head.
It's really not.
Otherwise,
anything
the
special.
sled, the sled was nothing special besides that it was my first. But
Okay, what's the other one?
no, the one that I would regret ever getting rid of isn't mine. It's my dad's, which I rode a lot.
The Mountain Cat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was the tooth.
Was it a King Cat?
It wasn't a King Cat. It was
a King Cat before a King Cat, basically.
okay.
It was a 2002 Mountain Cat 1000.
Yeah.
So it was the last year Arctic Cat made the triple.
Oh, it was a triple.
It was a triple.
Oh,
yeah.
yes,
So it was a
sir.
Those
triple.
sounded
It was a
good.
triple
Yes,
thousand,
sir.
and it was I think it was a 151 track.
Yep.
2-inch track.
2-inch track. I was gonna say I was
2-inch
gonna
track.
go aggressive and say 125.
Yeah, yeah. It was a 2-inch track, 151.
Hey, at the time, that was a
know,
lot
that's
of
what I mean.
sled. Now it's like your trail
Your
ride with a
mountain cat was
165.
a 136.
I know.
And it had those, parabolic skis that Cat ran for a while. Do you remember those things?
Yeah.
It didn't help the sled at all,
No.
like in the trees or whatever, because this sled was not. It was a mountain sled, but like compared to today, as it was
It was a mountain sled because
was-
it was long, not because
it
it
had-
could ride in the trees.
right. You wouldn't ride this thing in the trees, but man, that thing sounded so
It did. It
nice,
sounded really good.
and like it made me
take a
think of it. Yeah,
Need a break.
it made me think of that because when you were saying about when you hear Justin in the trees, you know it's Justin. That sled, you
Yes.
knew it from
Yep.
miles away that was that sled
Yep. Absolutely.
in the trees. It was like you couldn't mistake it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I know when my dad was going to sell that sled, I was like, at the time we're like, oh yeah, get into the 2011. He bought a 2011 M8.
That was
when
white and orange.
The white and orange.
Yeah.
He bought that one, and selling that sled was like, oh, just get rid of it, move on, because at the time you're like, it isn't that big of a deal, right? And then you look back on it 10 years,
Hindsight being
20,
2020, you're
15,
like-
20 years later, you're like, man, that sled was perfect.
It was.
There was nothing. It was never. He
think
never wrecked it.
Actually, there was one thing wrong with it. Do you remember what it was? I do remember this.
Well, the carburetors.
No, I meant like
That's not-
like physically. The only blemish that it had. See if you remember.
I don't think so.
One of the little green shields in the hood fell out and landed on the pipe and melted.
Oh yeah, he was
So
missing.
he was
one of the
missing
little,
one of the little like it's not even a shield, like a vent thing,
Yeah,
like
vent-
a little snap-in
vent
vent
screen.
hood thing.
Yeah.
And it fell on the
Yeah, he was missing one of those.
So great story with that sled. Really good story with that sled.
But I mean, yeah, like obviously he bought it original owner, so it didn't have many miles on it because he didn't really we rode, but not not a lot on that thing. So it had low miles. It needed a carb rebuild in the worst way because the thing. You can tell that story.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah,
You know
that's
the story
that's
when
what
it-
I was just gonna say.
Okay,
that was the story.
So the sled. I mean, when it ran, but obviously this is before EFI. This is a carbureted triple, so
She was a little finicky.
and
Those pulled so hard on your thumb.
but it just was saying the sound of it. You can't replicate that sound.
No.
And
My dad had one of those.
but like you pointed it and it went to where you were pointing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't. There was no tree riding that thing.
You know, it's funny. That's the first sled I think I ever did 100 miles an hour on the lake.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you think now, you're like, my mountain sled could maybe do 75 with a tailwind. Like, they don't.
Yeah.
Again, further proving that it was a mountain sled because it was long, but it was still just built like the rest of them, basically, but just more behind.
Right.
it.
It was a ZRT with a longer
Exactly.
track on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But again, there wasn't a lot of maintenance done on the sled. And when I say there was no maintenance, there was
none.
I mean, as far as like obviously rebuilding and cleaning your carbs out, never happened on that sled.
It got parked at the last ride, and
It got parked,
pulled back out for the first one.
It got fuel
That's it.
stabilizer, and that's it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the story that I wanted to get into was the sled never was really maintained probably the way it should be. So every time it was ridden, it got worse and worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. So starting it and having it run well kept getting exponentially worse.
More difficult as time went on.
And probably, Justin, trying to start a triple when it's really, really cold out is like the sword and the stone trying to pull the stone out.
It's not easy.
It's not easy,
Yeah.
right? So it's like 15 below 0 in the morning.
You feel every compression tug, 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 tug.
You're just pulling like pull. So I remember we were wait till he comes back, but we would go and ride. And was one day we were coming out, and I think we had driven the trucks into camp because they were logging. So we had our trucks and trailers, and we pulled the sleds out in the morning. It's super cold out. It's probably like 15 below 0, super cold out. And the running joke was like, we always count how many times is it going to take Big Ron to start the sled? Like how many times is it going to take this morning, right? So we're having coffee in the morning. I think my uncle Ross was there, right? So my dad goes out, and the big joke was because I was EFI at the time. I think Max was. So we're like, all right, Pop, go get started. We want to go riding a little bit. Go get, start pulling. So he would go outside, and we're all watching from the inside. Nice warm camp watching him. And I'm not shitting you. He went outside one day, and he just was blah, 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 blah. And he must have pulled 30 times. Blah, 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 blah. And we're watching it, and you can see he's getting pissed, and he's starting to sweat, and it's freezing out, right? He's starting to sweat, steam's coming off him, blah, 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 blah. Snap. The recoil rope goes wing, and it goes right back inside the recoil of the sled.
Everyone knows that sound.
And we just went, oh, into the camp, and he's just like, what the fuck? And he's just kicking the sled, and he's just so pissed. And he
takes the handle, throws it in the woods with a little bit of rope still attached to it. He's like, fuck this, and throws it. And I bet this is one of the probably like second or third time I'd been to your camp to go riding. And I'm watching this from the living room, watching this unfold. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know how this is going to go.
And he was and he comes in, he's like, all right, we're out of here. Sled's going in the trailer. He just like dragged the sled to the trailer and was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, Pop, you got to take the carb. Carb's got to get cleaned. And that's why it doesn't. So I guess that was the one bad thing about that sled was that it was carbureted.
Yeah. But again, given the proper maintenance, it should pull, it should fire up first, second pull,
right. Right. I mean, there's got to be a way to convert that to EFI, I would assume.
No. It's not worth it. Why would you though?
It'd be a lot easier.
Well, you're gonna own it now for nostalgia. You're not actually like taking it. You know what I mean?
Right, that's true.
You want it original. I wouldn't want to mess with it too much.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that'd be the one sled I wish I still had. Mm-hmm. Not to really to ride, but a good example is like Parade of Lights.
Right.
That would be like the perfect time.
Just to
cruise the lake and just down the lake and just do the parade with it. And
Yep.
But
I remember how mad your dad was when he got a ticket. I think it was 2 years ago.
My God, at night we were going up.
Well, so I wasn't there. I came up that morning, and it was just me riding into camp by myself to your camp.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think you were in like Old Blue or something, and I was just I was clamped, just coming up through with the twins, and I pull up, and Max is like, "Told you he was coming," and Ron's like, How come I get a fucking ticket last night? That thing you can hear for miles, and you're just like, that thing is so loud coming down like a groomed trail with those.
Oh, you can hear it for a while.
When you turn from Depot Camp and
you can hear it.
I'm like, you can definitely hear it. You can hear it through the valleys, and it just echoes and it bounces. It's funny.
Oh, I remember showing up to his camp. We were going up that night before, and he had been there. He had been there earlier, and he was all ready to go when I showed up.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, I'm going to head to camp. I'm going to go through Cloutier Pit. And I'm going to go that way. I'll see you at camp. And I was like, all right. So he took off. I'm getting ready. I'm getting my stuff on. And not even 10 minutes later, my phone rings. And it's him. I'm like, uh-oh.
You should never get a phone call in Pittsburgh.
It never get a phone call.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Never get a phone call in Pittsburgh. And why are you calling me?
Yeah.
So he answers the phone. He goes, yeah, don't go through the pit. There's cops sitting right there. He's like, I just got a ticket. You got to be kidding me. And he's all just hooting and hollering mad. Yeah. And he's like, I've never got a ticket up here. I'm just middle of the night. Blah, blah, blah. And he was just so pissed. Don't go that way.
It's just a can. That's all it was. It's not even that loud.
It's not that loud.
No,
it's not that loud. He just, it's not his first one.
I completely, if I ever get stopped and they're like, oh, okay, I'll own the ticket. I don't care. Like,
Yeah, it's the risk. You know inherently the risk you take by having an aftermarket exhaust. You know, you be respectful and whatever, but sometime they might pull your card might be up.
Yeah, your card's up. You
take the ticket and you take it like a man and you move on. That's
I've
it.
done all my pro trips. Like I'll pull off on the side of the trail and pack the exhaust full of snow for the quick startup to check the lights and hope they don't pick up on the sound as it's like snow's blowing out from under the exhaust. And,
I get a ticket because of this guy
That's my fault.
Why are you
on
pointing
River Road.
fingers?
I'm pointing my finger at this guy.
It's your sled.
I didn't write no ticket. I'm not a law enforcement.
No.
I
So
didn't write the ticket.
so it's your fault. I'll tell you why it's your fault. It's because you didn't put your registration sticker on your sled.
It was cold.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
They don't stick in the
be
cold.
it as it. Okay, we're going down River Road, going up to my camp, I think, and we're
Yeah, we're
crossing.
just leaving my
We're
place.
crossing River Road to go up to Young's, and we come up to the road, and there's a fucking warden sitting right on the road in his pickup truck.
Green jeans.
Yeah. And he's sitting there, and Max is in front of me. I'm behind him, and Max doesn't have his. We just got registered, so he didn't put his sticker on his sled. So the cop sees that and goes, like, waves us down. I'm like, no, don't stop. I should have just went around you and just kept going.
You should have.
Because he didn't have a sled.
No, he was in his truck sitting on River Road, just getting people going across the crossing. Which
Yeah.
that's I don't know. That's lazy law enforcement in my book. but
Yeah.
whatever.
So I should have just
Cold.
I should have just went, but like
it is cold.
So I just turned my sled off, and he walked up, and you were like, "Oh yeah, it's right here." And you pulled it out, and you were like, "I have it. I just didn't put it on because you said because it was cold and I want it to stick
Yeah.
and whatever." And then he comes over to me, and he was just doing this good cop bad cop routine. So he comes over and he's like, "Oh, nice sled. Looks nice. Looks nice."
I bought it this way, sir.
And he goes, he's like, "Oh, nice. The Wyoming registration. You been in Wyoming?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we went to Wyoming and this and that and." Like being a buddy, and he's like, "Yeah, I went to Wyoming, and oh, that's cool. Yeah, no. you got a can on this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh well, you can't have a can. It's a blah 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 ticket. Here you go." And I'm like, and I should have lied, but
So all I got from that was you blamed Max, but you told the guy, "Oh, I got a can on this."
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of your fault.
It's kinda,
well, I mean, I could have lied. I could have been like, "I don't," but he was sitting there when I pulled up, so
I'd have been like scratching my head and like, a can?
what do you mean?
What's a can?
Like a can of soda?
A can. You
And I had to leave. He was sitting there. My sled was off. I had to leave. I had to fire it up and go. So I go, yeah.
see if you're a Polaris guy, you're like, I can't really take off right now. I'm waiting for my buddy to bring me some spark plugs. Oh,
If I start up right now, it's gonna foul plug. So I'm gonna be here for the
I
next
know
couple
how this
hours.
is gonna go,
So,
so why don't you just head back to the office?
Yeah.
so I hope get comfortable because I'm gonna be here for a couple more hours until this thing.
I'm
But
gonna,
yeah,
I'm
so-
gonna wait this out.
So yeah, that's the one. I think that's the one exhaust ticket I've gotten.
I've gotten a speeding ticket. I've never gotten an exhaust ticket.
No, Big Ron's got a speeding ticket. I never got a speeding ticket. Mm-hmm. Big Ron got one on the Galloway years ago.
Yeah.
Kroll tried to get him out of it, trying to say it was his uncle.
I know. He pulls out
This is
like he
my
does
uncle.
that. He does that move with the badge and like, oh, you can help my buddy out, and he's like, no,
No, I'm like, damn it.
no. You're a cop in Massachusetts. He's a fish cop in New Hampshire. He doesn't care about you. It's
Yeah.
not. It doesn't work like. It's not even his ticket either. It's his uncle's. Uncle Ron.
Yeah, no, that didn't work.
No.
I remember I was with my riding my buddy Bob from my home, and we were trail riding. I had my ZR, which was louder than it should have been, and I pull over for a safety check, and the guy's like, "Are you Nate's brother?" And I was like, "This guy's amazing. I've got my helmet on. I haven't said but 2 words."
And he knows it's.
And he was like, "Oh, I think he did. I think he did the academy with my brother or whatever."
Oh, no way.
Wicked nice guy. And I was like, no. How do you figure that out? I can't figure that out.
How did he get? So how did he know?
I said a couple words, and he was like, "Oh, he goes, it sounded like your brother. You sound like your brother." And he goes, "I know your brother's snowing wheels." And and I was like, "Wow, this guy's he missed his calling. He should have done something."
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you and your brother don't even talk. You talk similar, but not that similar. Where I would know, I'd pick up that you're his brother or whatever just with a helmet on. There's
Maybe
no
he
way.
could sense my fear of a ticket. I don't know. I was like, "Oh, I'm
no.
getting a ticket," but
Yeah, but did he give you a ticket or no?
no, I
No?
passed. So The sled's not that sled's not that loud. It's got a Y pipe and the SLP can.
Yeah.
And I talked with SLP to see if I could put a quieter exhaust on it, but the way it's tuned, it just doesn't.
That's not an option.
Not an option.
No.
So you just roll the dice, and if I get a ticket, I get a ticket. But the sled runs great. That sled's, like I said, it was cool that Heather was excited to go back to the idea of like her and I doing like some trail rides during the week and stuff. Cause
dude, hit me up. Let's do it. Like
Yeah.
I'm real excited to do more of it again. Just in those times when you know the weekends, Saturdays are for the boys. Like we're going in the trees and we're doing stupid stuff, but it doesn't mean I'll definitely bang out on a Wednesday if the snow's decent to go.
I like doing
riding
stupid stuff.
Yeah,
Stupid stuff's fun.
We've
like running without a snow flap.
Yeah, it's not stupid for anybody but his friends.
Yeah,
It's just offensive.
yeah. You're
Crickets.
saying got awful quiet there, right?
Yeah, well, it's just
I just do me.
I just do me.
Yeah. You never. So we never finished off with this the sled. I regret.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah,
Getting rid of, and it's really not a great. It's probably my beaver tail Rev because it was my first sled.
Yeah,
and it was a great sled, and that thing never gave me. I deleted it.
Okay, good.
No beaver.
Those things suck.
Yeah, it did suck, but I deleted it and I changed all the colors and did all. You know what I mean? It was literally the first sled I quote unquote built. Like I put the tunnel delete thing on and riveted it on and changed all the colors. And
right.
made
first sled
mine.
you bought too.
Yeah, first sled I bought. First sled I went riding with. And
So what year was that?
03.
Okay, I was gonna say 04. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was an oldie.
That
But
was the
Yeah.
most screwed up suspension design skidoo. Like
Yeah,
that thing would be like,
Yeah, and then Polaris did
yeah.
it for
Players
10
did the same
years.
thing too.
It's dumb.
oh yeah, with that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't get that concept. And okay, maybe let's just assume that it works better or whatever the case is. You lose all storage and they look idiotic. They
Yeah,
just
I guess
look-
I'm still not clear on the benefit.
I'm not either. I don't
Like,
know.
I don't- yeah,
I don't know what it is. It's supposed to be better somehow. But the beaver tail on the Rev wasn't even about suspension. It was still a standard suspension, but the snow flap was connected to the rear suspension so that it articulated.
You don't even need those things.
Obviously not.
I think it would get stuck in like 2
Right.
inches of snow. With
Oh,
those.
it would. You'd back it off the trailer and it would eat the flap and get stuck in the parking lot. Like it was so dumb.
My friend had one of those, and I remember like going like off trail up at our camp and stuff, and before off trail with our off trail slide was fun. We off trail with an F7 as far as you could go and stuff.
Right, right.
It was great. Like you just and that thing would be like, where the hell's Jeff? Oh, how are you stuck on the trail? All you did was turn to get off the trail.
Beaver tail.
Beaver tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beaver tail. It would just jam up with snow. It was just not a good.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they only did it for 1 year. But it was the very first, that was the very first version of the Rev. That's all
was
you could
supposed to,
buy.
The
And-
ergonomics of that suspension was supposed to keep the track flat for traction, right? Wasn't that
Sure.
sure? I guess
Sure.
I don't know.
snow flap supposed to keep the snow behind.
I don't know what BRP was thinking with that one, but
Yeah, that'd have been a nice one, for a shop, if you had storage up top.
Yeah.
You put the first one and be like, that's my first, my
that's
first
my
sled
very
is still,
first- yep,
up there.
That's the first one
As
that I bought and rode, and
I was thinking
Molested.
when we were talking about the sled you would want to keep. I also had a ZR 700 that was carbureted.
ooh,
It was kind of a
What year? 700?
99. It was green.
so was that when it
yeah.
wasn't? Was it rounded nose or
Yeah.
that was still the?
It was rounded.
It was rounded. Okay, yeah.
And
The ones before that looked pretty goofy,
That-
with the square kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
So that 700 at
That was a Powder Extreme had the square.
Yeah, sure did.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
That sled would burn your hands.
Yeah.
Even on low, those hand warmers would cook your gloves off of your hands. You'd run all day with just switching between off and low. High, forget it.
Speaking of that, I got to work on a hand warmer setup for the Polaris.
Oh, do you?
My left hand's good, and that heated brake is good.
Yeah.
That
Right.
heated brake.
Your
is
heated
dumb.
brake is
It'll burn
offensively hot.
Offensively hot.
It's really hot.
It's like your lack of snow flap. It's offensive.
It's also offensive.
It will burn your finger.
Yes.
But oh man, that Powder Extreme, which is another thing, that was a 600 triple.
Oof.
No, they were
triple.
twins, weren't they?
No, mine was a triple.
That was a triple.
It was a 97 600 triple, which is crazy. They made a 600 triple.
And it was a 136 with a 2-inch lug, right?
I think it was a 1/3.
It was a 136. I don't think
Yeah.
you could get it.
Yeah,
With,
I think it was
you could get it with
136.
That was a
2-inch.
long track then.
Yeah, I think my 02 Mountain Cat was a 141. I think.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, the
And
powder
now-
extreme was basically the same thing. It was a ZRT with a 2-inch bow track.
I bet
on
you
it.
not so much longer. They're not like 129s are now becoming a thing. And like a 136 is now like the standard
I still
short
say
track.
a 129 is still like around here. A 129 is like the trail sled.
That's what that's what my XRS is, and I
So
love it.
they're so
It's-
tight in the woods. Like
yeah.
for our trails around here, yeah, it's I think 129s are that 120ish range is just
The place to be.
yeah.
Speaking of that kind of transitions well into the other topic that we were
Segue.
talking about was trails around here. Can you like explain a little bit about like your family's connection to like the VAST system?
Yeah, so my grandfather, Norm Hayes, was one of the original founders of VAST, and he did. There was a couple years ago. There was a article written about him in the VAST to kind of commemorate some of the history of VAST with an anniversary they had. So he spent a lot of time. I think it was Wisconsin he went out to and kind of like learned how they had their trail system set up and kind of like the ins and outs of like building a trail system and using people's property to basically make a trail system that was public for
Right.
people.
And where was he living at the time?
He was living in Burlington, Cross Parkway in Burlington.
Wow.
But he was doing, well, I believe that's where he's living because there's like old photos. So to step back a bit, like I bought that house as my first house. And there were like old photos of another gentleman, Carmi Duso, I believe was his name. And he was another gentleman, like a part of like founding the whole trail system with in Vermont. And the camp that's my family's now was one my grandfather built, and that's on the first VAST system. Their trail map has some photos, and there's a picture of my camp. And Max, you've been to it, like the
Yep.
whole like live edge and stuff. I mean, it's as clean cut and fresh as this table here, and that was the whole siding on the camp, and it's on the VAST map. But it's cool because the map, you would understand this better than I would, but it's mirrored. It's like the picture was taken, and then the way they printed the map,
It looks backwards. It's flipped.
backwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, that picture hangs up at our camp and stuff. But yeah, so that was my grandfather's passion. Was
When
snowmobile.
when was this? Yeah.
What year are we talking?
Our camp was built in '74. Off the top of my head, I don't know the.
I was gonna say it couldn't be
Our camp was either 71 or 74.
much before that because snowmobiles weren't even really. You couldn't.
We have a 56. My grandfather's first snowmobile, I think, is still up at our camp. I think it's a 56 Skidoo, 8 horsepower, single cylinder. It might be 36-inch, 32-inch ski stands. I mean, it's
Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
it's cool. But so my brother and my father and I. Oh God, we were in high school probably. Did like a restoration of that.
That's cool.
And
That's awesome.
brought it down, did like some antique snowmobile stuff. But yeah, there's definitely some family history that I'm pretty proud of with the VAST system and trail systems and stuff.
Yeah. And your dad's still actively involved, right? He
Yeah.
grooms and
My
does all
dad-
kinds of stuff,
yeah,
right?
My dad grooms. He's doing trail work and stuff this weekend. He's been the past month probably working on rebuilding the groomer for his club, and he loves.
What's the name of his club?
They're the Caledonia County Club.
Yep.
So they're kind of between like St. Johnsbury, Lindenville, Burke area.
It's a popular area though.
Yeah, it's cool. Our camp's definitely progressed quite a bit as far as
That must have been crazy, like back in the 70s, like trying to establish a trail system without having one in place. Like he must have had to have gone to all these landowners to say, hey, can we put a trail through this area to connect it to this area? Like just to map out where it's going to go must have been daunting.
It's a massive
you
undertaking.
You didn't have GPS back then to look
No,
at a
yeah,
map
you had
and be like, oh, we're going to go right through here. We're going to cut a trail. Like to do it in
So-
those days, to like call everyone and be like, hey, can we go through your land? Yes, no, sign this. And
I think a big part of how he did it was he was concrete sales. So he was like over the road driving all the time. And I think that's how he came across the land that we bought, or that he bought, to build the camp on. And I mean, of course, naturally, like the vast trail went right through our property. And I remember being a little kid staying up there with him and stuff. And like at night, you'd see some snowmobiles come through. And if anyone ever needed anything, food, water, gas, directions, or anything, he always had like the barn down below the camp. And you know, it was a different time. You could just whatever you needed, you'd take care of you. And
yeah, that's cool.
so it'd be 8:30, 9 o'clock at night as a little kid, and you'd hear the old 440s like brrr, people were just trail riding. They just would go through, and
Yeah.
it's cool. It's hard to see the changes with all the you see the changes with people buying up property and posting it, and it's
Going
Closing
the
things
going the
down.
other way.
it goes the other way. Yeah,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's and so it's hard to even like think about like maintaining trails. Like, now you see, again with like social media, like you see people doing work and you see like the areas that it needs. But if like back in those, I always think like how would things be different back in those days to know what part of the trail needed maintenance to
Right.
get people to do it. To
And
like,
how do you communicate with all the people to get help on work weekends and
Right, yeah.
round up materials, and like it just had to be so much more work.
I think the systems were so different. What you and I would say is a quick afternoon ride here to A to B,
Yeah.
whether it's 30 miles or whatever. Like you talk about a little 8-cylinder or 8-horsepower single-cylinder sled. Like
took you forever.
that's a day trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took you forever to get
And-
to
and-
point A to point B.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to my dad, and my dad tells stories about just being able to go through all these random trees and stuff because the sleds are so narrow. They don't have the power to spin down and get stuck. They basically just kind of like float along. And I mean, you yourself could pick the thing up and just move
Turn
it
it
over
right
if you get
around.
stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
Right.
you're not spinning down, holding it pinned to the bar, watching bark fly off the tree you're stuck on. I mean, it's
Watching
not an
logs
option.
fly.
You better just go, and that's pretty much all you're gonna do.
I remember
Even like my old Citation, I could pick that thing up myself and turn it around. Like it's not heavy, even remotely. And that's an 85.
I remember after we did a restoration on that sled, that Skidoo, like I said, I think it was a 56 or 54, 56. I remember going up to the front of we have a kind of a steep hill in front of our camp. And the snow wasn't deep, and I remember like I had it clamped, which is it's either idled or clamped. I mean, there's an on or off switch, and like I was going and I like stepped off the side and started pushing because I thought it was going so slow. I thought I was getting stuck. I wasn't actually getting stuck. It doesn't have the power to
You're
get
like,
stuck. It
That's just all it's doing.
It's like a log skidder. It just kind of keeps climbing.
Yeah, turns like a skateboard. We can
Yeah.
kick next to it and go. Okay, let's keep going here.
Kicking along.
Yeah. I got some pretty unique family history with snowmobiles in Vermont, which is something I'm definitely proud of. It's a very cool. It's a cool thing to look back on, and I'm proud of it.
I can't imagine doing that then. And like it's thank God for people like your grandfather that did it, that had the the wherewithal and the ambition to do, because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
How does
thankless work,
even sleds now, or even the clubs now, like I feel like, especially like clubs around here, or they'll work for a year and they'll bust their ass and they'll keep the trails open and it looks and then someone buys a piece of land or someone does something stupid on a piece of land. And they're like, okay, that's it, I'm done.
Shut it
I'm
down.
Yeah,
posting it.
someone's
Yep.
yeah.
And like, one small piece of land can ruin a whole trail system, and it's
Does your old man have any like insight to like club memberships, like on ebb and flow of membership in the 80s, throughout the 90s, 2000s? Like, is it plateaued? Has it dropped off? Has it gained, declined? Like, does he have any insight to that, or is that not his?
That's not really his forte. If I really want to like date myself, I can go back to when I was at Champlain College and did. I went to business school, and one of our like senior projects was to pick a business and follow it through, show like the impact and stuff. And I chose snowmobiles in Vermont, like the snowmobile, the industry as a whole. And Vermont at the time had tracked, I guess as well as they could, they tracked everything from sales of trailers, snowmobiles, trucks that were used, like
Oh wow!
the impact that snowmobiling was like just under. I don't remember what year I graduated college. 20.
Jeez.
Yeah, 2002 maybe. I graduated college. 3.
We graduated in what, 07, so prior to that.
Earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like snowmobiling was, if you really looked at like the impact, and it's even today you can look at the impact. If there's no snow, like up in like the Island Pond areas, which are pretty heavily driven for
That's all tourist.
It's all tourist.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the way that the businesses are up there, like they depend on that. And
yeah, I'm just wondering if it has been declining. Like, 'cause you think like, you know, is it directly? Because I mean, we can all say that the snow has been less than ideal the past couple years, and it's like, you know, we're sick, right? We're all sick in the head. We'll buy snowmobiles and do this shit whether there's snow or not.
We'll just
we're sick.
cross our fingers and hope that good snow comes, but unfortunately it doesn't sometimes.
Right. So we're sick, so we'll do it regardless. But there's a lot of people out there who are like, well, it didn't snow last year. I'm selling all my stuff. I'm done.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that, and they're not going to go back into it because it's like it doesn't snow around here anymore.
Or
like,
they just
they're not going to travel to, you know, Maine, New Hampshire. They're going to say, I'm riding out of Vermont, and if I can't ride out of my house, I can't ride in Vermont anymore. There's no snow. I'm selling my stuff.
But there are also families too that just have, like, let's say some older machines, early 2000s, whatever, and they're the kind of people that just won't even register or do anything unless what I mean?
Unless it's going to be a good
good winter, and there's probably people that just let them sit in the trailer and just, it's not this winter ain't going to do it, or just ride dirty or whatever, you know. Or
it's raining this weekend, and I'm not gonna register.
Yep. But, and it sucks.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that this El Nino thing is true. And
hey, we're off. We're off to a good start. I know it's going to warm up next week, but this is as good of a start we've had in a while, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah. I mean, we could probably end it here if you want.
Sure. Yeah. It's a couple hours.
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours. So.
Yep. Well.
Well, some gunshots firing outside. You hear those gunshots?
Did you hear it?
Oh yeah, I've been
Is
hearing
that what that is gunshots?
Yeah, someone's.
Heather just texted me and she's asking like what the gunshots are.
It's not us.
That's not us. No, it's not us.
I didn't
Yeah, someone's definitely firing guns outside. But
about 20 rounds just went off, she said.
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, we can end it. But Justin, thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing some stories.
Sorry, it's a little rough over here.
No, not at all.
No.
We're in a nice part of town here.
Yeah. I know. We got to go get armed up here because we're going to get overrun in a minute.
Get my piece out of the truck.
I know.
But yeah, thank you, Justin. That was get some. We got lots more.
Yeah, we got some good stories. So
we got some good stuff that we haven't even touched on yet. So
yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
have a good evening.